Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Town of Barnstable meeting of the Board of Health. Roll call, please.
Yes, John Norman,
Here.
Tom Lee,
Here.
Dr. Guadagnoli,
Here.
Dr. Leskow,
Here.
Dr. Caniff, and Dr. Waller.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Everyone's
you.
present. Thank you.
I'm having a quorum. Notice of recording this meeting of the Board of Health will be recorded and transmitted by the Information Technology Department of the Town of Barnstable on Channel 18. Under Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 20, anyone else desiring to make such a recording or transmission must notify the chair. Is anyone else recording this meeting? Seeing none. The first item on the agenda, the first item on the agenda was originally going to go into executive session. I just spoke with the town attorney, and is the people here for 35 Pleasant Street, Hyannis Refuse and Odor Housing Complaint. Can you come forward, please? Okay. So the you can just take a spot there, or just the town attorney wanted me to advise that the reason why it was originally opted to perhaps go into executive session was because under the executive session rules, the people involved have a right to privacy for medical and mental health issues. So the idea was to go into executive session, but because the parameters of this appeal strictly are based on the inspector's findings, and that's all that you'll be able to argue is the findings to the board, why the findings were not done right or wasn't handled properly. That's all of the parameters under this appeal. It's not to rehash all of the issues or go over anything or to mention this person's name at all. So as long as we feel as though we can go forward without mentioning his name, the town attorney felt comfortable moving forward with this because the person the complaint was made against was not properly noticed that this was going to be going into executive session, and they had the right to be there. So he just advised me to go ahead with the hearing, hear the complaint against the inspector as to why the inspection was not done properly, but no personal names of any people involved. And if you feel like you can't go forward with that, we can continue it 30 days from now to another hearing and then go into executive session, because then proper notice will be given to the individual that his name may come up, and his medical or mental health issues may also come up in the discussion. So if you feel as though you can not bring that into the discussion, we can move forward. If you feel you can't, then we're going to continue it for 30 days, renotice, and then meet in executive session. Yes, come out of the podium and just make sure that green light is on, right on the mic itself. There's a little button on the front.
I'm not sure about that. I think it should go into executive.
You got it's the little light at the base of it. It's got to be on. See, there's a push button there that says push. Bright green. Sometimes it looks like it. Just give it a push.
Oh, okay.
Now see how it's bright green. Thank you so much.
The reason I say I think it should go into executive session. The reason I say that there's an issue here I want to bring up. I understand this is an appeal and this is a quasi judicial body, and given that, I would like to. We might be able to dispense of this right here and now. I'm going to make a motion right now that this be. I have not seen the record below, okay? Nothing, I just got informed of this Friday afternoon at 5:30. I was served with this notice to appear. And
Can you just identify yourself for the record? You didn't do that.
well, you just said I'm not supposed
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Well, you can identify yourself. The discussion was going to be.
I'm the person they're complaining against, I assume, okay?
Okay, so
I've not seen the complaint. I haven't seen the below complaints.
Okay.
I just, generally, I got a letter from Mr. McKean, the director,
Yep.
stating that there was an order, it was requested twice, it was denied. That's all I know. It was based on refuse and odor under the, seeking an order against.
Right.
Now, my point is this. I think the board here should be aware of this, and town council, if town council is here, should be aware of this. There is a case pending right now in Southeast Housing Court in Fall
Yep, we're
River.
aware of that.
Okay. Since it is pending, pursuant to Massachusetts law, under the rules of civil procedure, and under the Administrative Procedure Act of Massachusetts, which is governing this hearing here today, I have a right to seek to motion to dismiss and deny this complaint based on the fact that there is a previous pending action. And what's going on here, the backstory is here, the person that's bringing this complaint is using this body to try and subvert or circumvent that process which is going on in Southeast Housing Court. So therefore, it would be improper, illegal. Quite frankly, it would implicate this town in legal action if this were to continue.
No, what this hearing is for is just the person who made the complaint, a staff member of the health department, went out to address those complaints and made a ruling
Right.
based on their physical observation and such. They disagree with that ruling. So under our operating rules, you can, and CMR 410-850, Section B and 3, they can appeal it. So they
who
can
is
come.
it?
They can come to the health board of health and say, I don't believe that individual inspected it properly, or things like that. The housing court, all of that has nothing to do with us.
Who is appealing, the board member, the staff members, or the complainant?
The complainant disagreed with the staff's findings.
Okay, but my
So
point-
so they have the right to ask us.
Agree.
To appeal that.
Agree.
So the
Agreed,
discussion was from the town attorney is that because of your rights under health and mental health issues, they didn't want this discussion in open session.
Well, is that an
So
issue in the complaint? I haven't seen the complaint. Is that?
It's not a complaint. It was just an appeal of the decision.
Well, the decision, when you say mental health, was that an issue that was raised?
No, it's just that the town attorney contacted me and said, this should go into executive session under this criteria. And I said, okay, fine. And then he just called me and said, we just found out that you weren't properly served to know that we're going into executive session to discuss these things, and that he felt that it could go forward as long as no one mentioned anything about those issues. So if the complainant who filed it is willing to move forward without mentioning any of that, we can move forward. If they don't want, if they feel as though that's part of their discussion and their case, then we need to go in executive session. But we can't go in executive session because you weren't served properly for executive.
Oh, okay, okay, I got it
So
now.
the two
But my-
options here are to move forward and not discuss those two issues that I talked about, or to delay it 30 days and then proper notice will be given.
I understand you that thus far, but again, getting back to what I said before, I think the third option is a motion to deny and dismiss based on.
This is not a motion to deny it, and we're not a quasi-judicial board. We are simply looking at the actions of the inspector.
You're acting
Did
as-
the inspector inspect it properly, or did he not? That's all that's before us.
Yes, but
All these other issues, that's not
But
our
your board does
purview.
have the power to issue an order of ejectment from dispossession of the premises.
No, we don't. We
No.
can order it to be cleaned up, we can order it to be properly handled, we can order refuse to be put there, but we have no authority to
But if
evict.
these conditions were already raised, sir, in the case there at the Southeast Housing Court, therefore they're pending in their first case, their primary.
That's not before us. What's before us is the actions of the inspector. That's it.
But you're contravening what's going on in
No.
in the court.
No, I disagree. But thank you for that. So could you
Well,
identify yourself?
I would
You
like
just-
to go into executive session.
Well, we'll make that decision,
All
but
right.
thank you so much. You can take a seat now. And who are you, sir?
Hi, good afternoon, gentlemen and ladies. My name is Michael Mulaney.
Okay.
I'm speaking of the mic.
Just make sure the mic is on and you speak into it. Just whatever you feel comfortable doing. If you want to stand at the mic or the podium, you can, or if you can sit down. Sure. Yeah, he can just sit down there.
Hi,
So.
Good afternoon. Hi, how are you?
Just to address what's before us right now.
Okay,
Did
so-
you understand what the town attorney had advised me of?
Yeah, some of it, yeah, sure.
Can you move forward with your complaint of the inspector's findings without mentioning those two things?
Well, I'm here on behalf of 35 Pleasant Street. I live there, and the only way that I could phrase this is what's going on over there, I want my town to know. That's why I'm here.
Okay,
I've
well,
got
what you're here for is a disagreement with the findings of the inspectors.
Sure, I'm
That's
ready to
all we're
roll.
here
I brought
for.
I brought
That's-
all the police
That's all we're here
reports.
to address.
Yeah,
Be-
okay.
The appeal process to us is that you disagree with the findings
Absolutely,
of the inspector.
absolutely disagree.
And you have a right to show us why we should overrule
Absolutely.
the findings of the inspector for the odor complaint and for the trash complaint. So moving forward, if you can make that presentation without discussing the person's health or mental health or anything like that, then we can move forward. But the town attorney is just advising that if you can't, we should go into executive session, but because he wasn't served properly, that if you want to go into executive session and you want to talk about those issues in privacy in executive session, we can do that, but it'll be 30 days from now.
No,
Next month's
I
meeting.
think, so you want me to be a little bit more abstract in what I'm going to?
Can't, you know, under the,
Because I don't, you know.
under the open meeting laws, okay, we have to have open discussion of this. But there are certain rights, like if the town was involved in a lawsuit and discussions of the things in open meeting might compromise the position of both legal parties.
All right, let me
that would be an example.
Sure.
But one of the examples is that if you're going to discuss someone's, you know, under the HIPAA rules, if you're going to discuss someone's medical or mental health condition, they have a right to privacy to that, and so we would go into executive session to discuss that. So if you're going to make your appeal here and discuss the actions of the inspector, because that's all we are here to discuss, is the actions of the inspector as to whether it was done properly, if it was time-stamped, if it was properly served, things like that, we'll address that. But if you're going to go into this long thing about, that's not our purview. We
Well-
are here merely overseeing the staff actions.
I'll rephrase it again the way that I phrased it before. I believe that the tenants and the people that live at 35 Pleasant Street are at an immediate health risk right now, right today. I'd like to explain that. I'm here to explain that. I have police reports.
If you can move forward with that without,
Yeah, I mean, we are
discussing,
we are here.
without discussing the medical or mental health.
No,
things
not.
that they
I
should-
don't need to do that. But
Okay.
what I need to do is express to
Yep.
my town, we are at immediate health risk.
Okay.
Because of what's going on over.
Okay, that's the question before you was, do you want to move forward or do you want to delay
Sure,
for 30 days?
I'm here. Yes, I'm here to move forward.
Okay, and you'll do
Yeah.
it under the, you'll understand.
Yeah, I'll
that
do
if-
the best
I'll have
I-
to shut down if you start to discuss.
I'll do the
any of
best
those
I
issues.
can. I'll do the
Okay.
best I can. All right.
If it starts to go into those areas, I'm going to have to shut it down. Okay, you understand? Thank you so much. So under the,
I would just like to ask if it can be moved for 30 days, because I don't have any of the underlying reports or anything, so whatever's going to be brought up here, if he wants to bring them up, I haven't seen anything. All I know is that they've been denied. I haven't seen the reports.
Did you-
I think I ought to have a right to.
did you receive the letter from Robin Anderson, the code compliance manager, dated April 1st?
No.
Objection.
Whoa. Okay, let me just explain something. We're not a court of law. We're not going to go into this long meeting. These are all volunteer. We're all volunteers here. We have busy lives. We volunteer our time to come in to take care of Board of Health. There's a lot of people in this room that have pending issues before us that we deal with. The question before us is, if you believe the inspector, who has been out to the property at least twice that we know of, and inspected the the odor complaint and the trash complaint, was not done properly, we'll listen to that if you have that, and we can overrule that. But if not, then we're just going to say, we believe the inspector did his job properly, and that's the end of it. So you don't need to yell out, objection, or you don't need to say, continuous. This is just a hearing, a Board of Health hearing. It's not a court of law. So hold on a second. He has a question.
I just wanted to say that I don't have any of the documents that you suggested, or any of the below documentary evidence that he's relying on, or the reports of the inspectors. I don't have any. All I had was one letter from Mr. McKean that stated that there was an inspection done twice and it was denied. That's all I know.
So the hearing, so you received notification of the hearing,
Friday at 5:30.
and you understood from what was written on the notification what it was in regards to.
That's all.
Okay.
But I have none of the underlying documentation that.
Well, that's all that we're dealing with, was the inspection done, and was the inspection done properly? That's the only thing that's before us.
Okay.
Okay?
But I just I don't even know what the findings were, other than it was denied. I don't know what the accusations were.
The second paragraph of your letter indicates that the violations were unfounded. That was in your letter.
Right.
Yes.
I'm
So
not
you're
denying that. I
so
got a
you're
letter
aware of
from I believe that's Mr. McKean. I got a letter from Mr. McKean.
Okay.
Served during 5:30 at Friday
That's fine.
afternoon.
So I appreciate you being here, but this isn't really you
Okay,
and the board.
I'll
This is
step back.
the applicants, because of he's challenging the inspection report. So I appreciate you being here, and any input that I feel like I can call you for, we will. But this is actually the applicant has the right to appeal the decision by the health inspector, and the board listens to that appeal, okay? So thank you so much. So, Mr. Mullaney, if you would proceed with the rationale for why the board should overturn the findings of the inspector.
All right, I'm going to do very simple. On reference number 23-4830F, with his Barnstable Police Department's narrative of when they came out, I'm going to read it. I was assigned, this is the officer, I was assigned to the sector of Hyannis on the evening shift in marked cruiser E237 at approximately 22:58 hours. I was dispatched to 35 Pleasant Street for a report of a toxic smell in the apartment complex that was burning residents' eyes. This was reported that it was coming from apartment 3 where Greg blank that out, is living. Hyannis Fire Department also responded to the apartment. Upon our arrival, HFD and I spoke with reporting person Michael Mullaney, and he stated that this has been an ongoing issue with Greg, and this has been that has been walking around in trash bags. He feels that Greg is defecating in his apartment, then putting the defecation into single trash bags. The trash bags are then outside the side door. We entered the residence in an attempt to contact Greg. You could immediately notice a nauseous smell coming throughout the residence, and we went upstairs and knocked on the apartment at number 3, and Greg was unhappy with our presence. He refused to open the door,
You're
and he would
mentioning
not
his-
speak to us with anger starting. This is the police, not me. I'm reading the police report. He answered all questions appropriate in regards to health concerns, other than the smell in the complex. The smell was stronger as we stood outside the door to his apartment. He just continued to say that he was been harassed. We then went outside and talked with Michael and Landler and advised that they are in process of evicting Greg. They have contacted the town and advised they would be sending out the Board of Health for another evaluation. I am documenting this incident due to the fact that I believe the smell coming from the apartment complex and being more potent in the area of the apartment is causing living conditions to be extremely difficult to the other residents.
Can you just repeat the section? What did the police officer say he'd be notifying Board of Health or Health Department?
I've been to the police department several times, and I've been to the Hyannis Fire Department several times. The police and our fire department dispute what the Board of Health is telling this.
Yeah, what I'm
board.
trying to get into is, one of the discussions has been is that, the health department's hours, not 8 to 4 or whatever, that those times that police have responded,
Right.
fire department, they've found a different thing.
Okay, so I have a police report.
I just wanted to
Yeah.
focus in on something. I thought I heard you read from the police report that they were going to contact the health department.
Well, actually,
They?
we have police report 236247, 2317-314. We have police report 2317-314. We have police report number 234950. I have many police reports that say the exact same thing.
That they were going to contact health.
No, that when they immediately entered our house. when you-
Acknowledged it.
Well, as soon as you walk in the front door of the home, and I live on the second floor, it's potent, okay? Now, I'm going to have to give our Board of Health a little bit of leeway here, because at some times, I got to give Mr. McKean credit, because he did come out, but it's like this. It's an up and down smell. We have
Just to cut you for a second, and just make sure you clarify. There's the Board of Health, and there's the Health Department.
There you go,
So
okay.
when you say the Board of Health, it's not us, it's the Health Department.
Gotcha.
Thank you so
All right,
much.
so what's going on is we have to have all of our windows open 24/7, even in the middle of the winter. The extreme odor and the smell comes in a couple of different ways. What happens is the tenant that lives in the apartment has, and the police have witnessed this, and I brought photos of this. There are 7 to 8, 9 bags that stay in the small little room in this captain's house here in Hyannis. And what happens is he's got these bags that stay in for 15 days, 17 days, so on and so forth. And what happens is that the odor is intense. It burns our eyes. All the residents, we can barely breathe. Okay, so what we want to do here is let you guys know that this is going on, and I'm going to give our health department a little bit of leeway because it is, I use the word intermittent, because when we open all the windows, it could blow out, but then it can ramp up again, okay? So I have photos of all the bags that the police have made notice of the bags that are in his room. They made notice of the bags that are on the porch, and so on so forth. We also have, there's another health issue that's going on. We have witnesses and tape of Mr. Collier, I'm not going to mention names, but he's reaching into those bags in the porch, and he's proceeding to wipe fecal matter on our property. Okay, I've brought videotape of this. He's wiping human waste on our bike handlebars at our port, and I have video of it, and I have witness testimony on it. So that's outrageous behavior.
And
It's behavior that scares the living crap out of me, okay? I don't want to live next to a person that's wiping human fecal matter on my property. I don't,
Oh, you
but let me,
can't.
I'm
Sorry.
talking, please.
This isn't your hearing.
Okay,
This is his
so-
hearing. Sorry. This is ridiculous. This is his hearing,
Hey.
it's not your hearing.
Okay,
It's not
so-
your hearing. It's not your hearing. It's not your hearing, sir. I explained that to you. I'm very happy you were here, and I gave you a chance to speak, but this is his hearing questioning the decision of the Board of the Health Department. That's it. It's not about you. It's about the decision by the Board of Health. He's letting us know how the Health Department agent missed the issues as I'm gonna ask you to sit down. I'm gonna ask you to sit down one more time, and then I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. Thank you so much.
So other health issues regarding, it's the large bags that stay in his room. It smells so awful. The fire department, our fire department, and our police department, I got plenty of reports. The other issue is that there's a shower. All the guys that live on the second floor, myself, and there's 2 other gentlemen that live up there. We all have our own bathrooms. But the person that we're talking about, his bathroom is in very close proximity to where we all live, and it's in a common area. The man proceeds to wash his soiled fecal matter clothing in the shower, and he runs the water for 1, 2, 3 hours straight, and what happens is it becomes a fog, like a sauna, like you're at the gym, but the sauna effect, it smells like human waste. It's absolutely disgusting. It's making me sick. It's making the other people sick at the place. I've talked to my healthcare primary about this. They've said, go to the town, absolutely. I had to go to the Hyannis Hospital 2 times. My eyes were burning so bad, and I've got those reports here. It's outrageous, and we just can't live like that anymore.
So when you when these incidents happen, do you contact the health department immediately?
Yes.
They typically respond quickly?
Yeah, I would say over the last, I'll give you an example about these bags. We took pictures of the bags just and we showed the police on 4/4, 4/19, 5/21, and it's a series. There's 4 different things. You could see the bags are right here. These bags filled with human fecal matter remain in that room, and they're taken out from 15 days to 17 days, and it's just unacceptable behavior. I feel bad, but we can't live like that.
Yeah, no, and I respect that. I'm just trying to, there's what you can prove and there's what's hearsay. So when these things happen specifically, the fire department is commenting, the police department is commenting,
Yes.
but they have limited authority in these type of situations. But I know that the April 3rd letter from the enforcement code officer Robert Anderson addressed a lot of these issues and let you know what the town's position on all of these were. I just want to drill down to the fact at hand. Are you calling the health department exactly when this stuff happening and responding as quick as possible? Because what we're getting on our side is the inspector's going out and he's not witnessing or smelling these things.
Do you guys want to see copies?
No, because it's you can show a picture of a bag and say what it is. It's hearsay.
It's even more than that, because the bags have been witnessed by the police officers as well.
If you're looking for Board of Health enforcement on the actions of the inspector, You have to prove that the inspector willingly, like, disregarded proof that you showed him or anything like that. What we have is the reports from the inspector saying they responded
Right.
to the complaint, they walked through the building, couldn't smell anything, they checked the trash, there was an issue,
Right.
the landlord quickly got that addressed for the trash. So,
I guess what I'm saying is I have like 6 or 7 police reports that are completely the opposite of our Board of
again,
Health. The
did you-
complete
did you-
opposite.
Did you call the health department?
Yeah,
at the
okay, yeah,
same
yeah.
exact
So
time?
let's talk about that for a second. So I guess I first contacted the Board of Health like in January-ish.
Health department.
Yeah, the health department in January-ish, and I kind of try to explain the entire thing that's going on. And I said, look, you know, I invited them to come out to the home. And they said, sure. I talked to Sharon Crocker, and I talked to Mr. McKean, and I talked to Robin as well. And I said, Robin, and to everybody, I said, look, when the smell is at its highest, can you guys send somebody out and verify this? And so I was very transparent, and I asked politely, and I've been wicked patient on this. They never come out when we call them during the day, okay? The time that Mr. McKean come out, and I give him credit for coming out, he came out, but all the windows were open, okay? They had been open all day. And so the intermittent nature of the smell wasn't as present as it normally is. It seems to be more heavier at night or earlier in the morning, and so when the police department comes, they can smell it, and they are like, whoa. And the ambulance guys come in with their mask, they're trying to do a quality check on this gentleman, and he won't let them in, he won't answer, it's antagonizing, and they're smelling it, and they're like, this is crazy, okay? I also reached out to Elder Services because I'm like, look, how can Elder Services help this man? I wouldn't want my parents or anybody else to be living in a small little apartment surrounded by 7, 8, 9, 10 large garbage bags of human waste, okay? It's outrageous behavior. And so I asked Elder Services, I'm like, look, can we get this guy assisted living? Can we figure something out other than what's going on right now? Because we can't live like this, okay? And so Elder Services came out, knocked on the door, and he won't answer. Elder Services sent him a letter. Elder Services communicated with our town health. And so this is going on. This is happening in our town, and it has to be addressed.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
And I have more. I've got
No, I think we have,
one more
enough.
issue. There's also an issue about the man is walking around on our second floor with a black garbage bag without any clothes on. Okay.
that has nothing to do with this.
All right.
hearing,
Well,
okay? Mr. Millay, I'm going to shut you down. Okay?
All right, that's
I think
fine.
we've heard enough to discuss this amongst ourselves and the board to find out if the inspector is in failure of doing his, inspections.
I
and
wouldn't
duties.
I wouldn't characterize it as a failure. It's just it's learning.
That's the process of the appeal. Is that you made a complaint, the health department dispatched an inspector, the inspector inspected and did not find that the complaint was warranted, and then issued his findings. The appeal is you disagree with the findings. So we've heard your side.
I have a lot more to talk
we-
about though
we-
regarding that issue.
No, we've heard enough. I think
Do you
so.
want
We've
you
been-
want copies of all this?
You can submit them to the staff, and members can access it if they want to. But the question before us again, and we have a very limited scope of what we're discussing, is the actions of the inspector. That's all we're able to act on. That's what the appeal is. So, like I said, there's a lot of other hearings today. There's a lot of things going on. I think I've heard enough. If any other board members want to ask you specific questions, they can call you up. But
All right,
thank you for that
I'll
presentation.
just conclude with this. I'll conclude with this, that the findings that I received in the mail from our town health department, our police department, and our fire department are in complete contradiction to what those findings are.
Understood.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Yes?
May I make a statement? I'm the land manager of the property, and this has been something.
You gotta identify yourself and speak into the mic.
Yes, my name is Dominic Alessandra, and the manager at 35 Pleasant Street.
Sir, just don't mention any names, please. I don't think you were here earlier when we explained
I understand. I'm not, yes, I wasn't.
Or any health conditions of any sort, of any person?
Okay. Mainly, this is an issue that has been going on. We're talking about, number one, the trash being left on the porch. This has been going on since I've been in court with an eviction for 3 years. I expected to be in court to address the situation each time, but we could never get before.
That's not.
No, but
that's
the
not what's
trash continued. So I documented the trash every week. I would go twice to the dump, okay, and bring the trash. I would do the trash one day, and then he would come in and drop all his trash on the next day. He would leave the trash under our Christmas tree during Christmas. He would leave it. These were antagonistic movements about the trash.
That's
not
my
opinion.
Thank you very much. That's not the issue before us. If you have specific discussion.
Well, yes,
about
I've called the town.
The actions. Let me finish. If you have something specific where, like, you witnessed the inspector coming out, not getting out of his vehicle, just wrote the report from the vehicle. If you have
witnessed
something specific, that's what's before us. The actions of
when
the inspector.
When the odor is extreme, and I would call the town hall and make a report, they could not come out at that time. They would come out the next day. They would come out in the afternoon. So we didn't get the immediate response to the conditions that existed. So no one could verify that except when the police made the report. And I get tired of calling the police if I call the police. Michael called the police because he lives upstairs. The bottom line is he's more aware of when it's going on, and then I would be notified. And then after a point, you go to the different agencies, and no one can do anything. Okay, that's what it's come down to. So we're living in a house that has toxicity going on. We're living in a house that we have actions that are not sanitary, and there's nowhere and no one that can solve the issue. And I've been in court for 3 years with this gentleman.
Okay, thank you so much for that. So members of the, any members of the board have any comments or questions?
You guys, I'm sorry, I'm going to submit this,
You can give it to Sharon, thank you.
the police reports and stuff like that.
You can give them to Sharon, thank
All
you.
right, thanks.
Tom?
Tom, do you want to give a staff report on this?
Just want to quick, and then Robin will have some, Robin might add. I just want to add that Health Inspector Timothy O'Connell received a complaint on February 9th when he first received a complaint on this property, and he tried to arrange to inspect the interior of the room, subject room, but was not given permission to go inside it. Multiple times he tried to get permission to go into this room. He was denied. Then we have 2 official inspections of the building without going into this gentleman's room. We walked the common hallways. We sniffed everywhere and did not smell any odors whatsoever. And there was no trash on the deck, because part of the complaint is trash out loose on the deck. The trash was contained within proper rodent-proof barrels. That was on, for example, April 18th and on April 21st. Again, this past Friday, when I was there delivering these letters, I found the same conditions. And on the way to this meeting, I looked at the deck again. There was no trash. But at least 3 dates, there were no odors in the common hallways with the windows closed, for example. Still no odors in the common hallways. That's why we issued a finding, the unfounded violations. Robin, you have anything you want to add?
Hi, Robin Anderson. I'm the Code Compliance Manager. I just wanted to point out, in no documentation that I have seen, and I've seen a lot of the police reports, has it been identified what the contents of those bags are. And I know the last time that Timothy O'Connell, the health inspector that was out there, actually spoke to another tenant who indicated that the bags were full of stuff that was from the Target, I think it was a dumpster, and the subject tenant brings it back to his room, sorts it out, and then disposes of it. So we don't know for sure what those bags contain, or that it in fact contains any kind of human waste.
Excuse me.
No, Mr. Laney, you're all done, thank you so much.
All right, but
You're all done, thank you so much.
that's just untrue.
You're all done, thank you
All
so
right,
much.
all right. The police saw the bags and witnessed the bags on the porch, and
You're all done, thank you, sir.
So just to clarify, we do know that they witnessed the bags, we just don't know what the contents were.
Can I?
Dr. Guadagnoli?
If you had, when you did the inspection, found what the police described, what action would be available to take?
If, that's a very good question, first of all. And I just
Think
wanted to
so.
say, I wanted to say that people's private areas, they have rights. So if you cannot smell it outside of that person's doorway, it's not a violation.
Right.
It
But,
doesn't affect the other people if it's not.
but if you had been able to, the police have been there and they've smelled it.
If it were-
our health inspector
we
had
would,
gone in and had corroborated it, what action would be available?
we would ask, in this particular circumstance, we would ask Elder Services for their assistance and to help this person with various issues that may be going on, without
And it-
getting any details.
And it sounds like that's been tried. If that didn't get a result, then what action would be available?
I don't have that answer. This is the first time we've had this type of situation. And I thought the assistant town attorney was going to be here to see what other legal remedies might be available, like a search, not, what do you call it, administrative search warrant or whatever we could.
Well, and if it is a public health issue, an enforcement action would go against the landlord as the property owner, correct?
That's a possibility. Yes, and he's here today.
Right, but it wouldn't necessarily go against an individual tenant. It would go against the landowner, property owner. Am I correct in that?
You may be correct. I'd have to explore that further,
Okay.
how we would remedy that. It gets pretty complicated. As far as,
We should probably explore it. I only speak for me, obviously, but you can't be there 24/7, 365. But if we have members of the police who are obviously more available, who've gone in and corroborated it, my inclination would be to say, okay, it's not that our guys didn't do their job. They did their job. They just weren't able to corroborate it.
Timing, yeah.
Yeah.
And
But
maybe-
we have another reliable source with a nose, who, or multiple reliable sources who have corroborated this. And, if that's the case, then what would we be doing if we had been able to corroborate ourselves?
Good question. Anyone else? Any questions for staff?
Well, I agree with Dr. Guadagnoli. I mean, something's got to be done. Obviously, there's a problem because the police have seen the problem and, visited the problem. It's just,
Well, I think
too
like,
bad you couldn't get a health inspector to when the complaint comes in, be available to go and look at it. I mean,
well, that's what I was trying to narrow down is like, if in the middle of the night when the Board of Health staff is not on duty, but a police officer is, if they respond to a chemical spill or a warehouse that has, green fog coming out of it, can they, do they have to wait till the next morning to get a Board of Health agent out? Or do we have?
calls must have come in during the day, though.
Yeah, right. But I'm just saying if it's,
The health department, too, is under the constraint of
You got to, yeah,
of
we can't just,
people not working on, people working at home.
right.
unlike a chemical spill, we cannot just go into someone's
Right.
private home. We don't have that
No,
right.
but I mean,
without the
I would
occupants.
imagine you could get a court order to do it.
We cannot go into someone's private
Oh,
home
but
without their
you could
permission.
get a court order to do it.
They have to give us permission.
Well, I
mean, a
don't
court's-
know
a
that
court's-
the issue is their private home. I mean, it sounds like it's in the hallways, it's on the, it's in a public area, not, and the smell and the
Then you get into legal questions of plausible deniability. they're going to take a sample of it, then do a DNA match, and then, I mean, you know, I mean, seriously, if someone denies, yeah, it's not mine, I didn't put it there, you know, I don't know who would do such a thing, you know, I mean, then it's like, is the town in the process of verifying, you know, whose it is, and it's just a, you know, overall bad situation, I know. But again, the question before us is, you know, did the inspector do their job properly, and, you know, the appeal of the decision. So, anyone else, any questions?
Yeah, do we have documentation from the police supporting Mr. Mulaney's claims?
Yeah, Robin went through all of the police reports, and, you know, like she said.
I'm sorry, I haven't seen those.
Yes, I
Maybe
do
Sharon
have
has
some
them.
that are attached to the complaint in our system. But I would like to remind everyone that odors are subjective opinions. So I don't know how we would bring that before a judge. We can't capture it. We can't present it as evidence. And I don't know under which regulation or rule this would violate. I mean, and I think that's been the difficult part. We understand that tenants are uncomfortable, but we only have one tenant here. The other tenants haven't voiced an opinion, and one did speak to the health inspector that was there and said that he said, yes, on occasion there was an odor, but it's not common. So we have a he said, she said, and none of our staff has been able to witness it. And even if we did witness it, I don't know what we could do with that.
Right. I mean, so, you know, if a septic system is overflowing in someone's yard, then, you know, that's a public health problem because, you know, you've got exposed human waste. And it's traceable because it's, you know, came from the house and it's like, but if you find, you know, someone went to the bathroom on the sidewalk, I mean, you know, aside from taking a sample and trying to do DNA matches, how do you prove whose it is and whose fault it is and things like that? It's the same public health issue.
I don't know, it just seems to me that we torture dogs in this place about where they can and can't go.
Oh, I know.
And, you know, we've got intolerable living conditions, and we can't do anything about it.
No, I understand.
So, to clarify, we have no report from the police documenting a public health violation on the property.
I don't have anything with me. We have police logs that identify that they have responded, and on occasion, some of them mention that there was an odor. But that,
Just an odor, though. They didn't find any bags of human refuse. They didn't.
No.
Okay.
no.
Because if the police documented something that we would consider a public health violation, I would be inclined to accept that in lieu of the inspector's report, given the fact that the timing is off on when the violations are occurring. But if the police have not documented any specific public health violation, then we have no evidence to go on.
Right.
I
And
would-
again, it would go to the landlord, you know, if there was a violation, and the landlord would appeal it and say, you know, prove it, you know, I mean, type of thing. Oh, I understand that. So,
I would like to say that I have all the confidence in the world in our staff doing those inspections, and if there was anything they could grab onto to resolve this issue, they would have identified it.
understood, yeah.
So we're not saying that violations haven't happened. We're saying we have no proof of it.
Right, I mean, I think that's, you know, the things I've been processing is that, you know, we might ask the health department to do maybe some surprise inspections over there, you know, unannounced inspections. It's right down the road from the
These
health
were-
department. So, I mean, they could be going out on their normal schedule of restaurants, hotel inspections, septic inspections, whatever, and
Yep.
just do a quick drive-by and walk into the common area and see. And if they're able to see something and then, you know, respond, you know, now knowing the situation, maybe if you receive a complaint at 9 o'clock in the morning that, you know, it's not, you know, scheduled for the following day, it's scheduled for the, you know, 10 o'clock, you know, try and get an inspector out there sooner so that if we are able to witness and see a violation, you know, then we can send it to the property owner.
No one knew these 3 dates, no one knew I was coming. They were unannounced.
Right.
Same with Tim O'Connell. He was trying to make arrangements in the beginning, but these 3 dates were unannounced. We had to knock on the door to get in. through the owner's quarters or through a different way, because all the doors are locked.
Okay.
No one knew we were coming.
All right.
But we
So we've got a pretty busy schedule, so I think we've given this enough due diligence. So I would entertain a motion to accept the findings of the inspector, unless someone wants to offer a motion in the negative, and deny the appeal.
Well, I don't think, nobody's saying the inspectors were wrong when they went there.
Well, that's what the
Dr.
appeal is
Lesko
about.
said.
That's what the appeal is about. They're
So-
challenging the inspectors.
Can we hear from the landlord again?
No, we've done the public discussion. Okay,
what's
I want to
wrong?
move on. No, we're done with the public things. So you want to get up?
Wait, I have
You want a
one more
motion?
thing to add, you guys. I have one more thing to add.
No, we're done.
Well, no, because
We're
when
done.
We're
done.
Robin entered
We're
a
done.
statement, and I've got.
Mr. Mulaney, we've given this over 50 minutes of discussion, and we've got other people that are waiting very patiently to have their hearings heard. You had your time to hear, we hear you. We are going to make a ruling on whether the inspector acted properly, which is what the appeal is all about. We're going to ask make a motion to ask the health department to do some surprise inspections and try and help the situation as much as we can. But I hope you respect the understanding that our hands are a little bit tied too, as the code enforcement officer has explained, that, it's a lot of it's hearsay and a lot of it's, bags and things like that. So we're going to move on. And we're going to move on. Thank you so much for your time. I'm going to ask you to leave this hearing if you don't calm down, please. Thank you so much. We are going to move on in this hearing, and I'm going to ask you to leave if you can't sit down and be quiet. Thank you so much. So I would entertain a motion to either accept the findings of the inspector and deny the motion for appeal, or in the negative, to accept the appeal and to ask the, what would we do in that situation? Deny the inspection?
Accept the appeal.
Accept the appeal, yeah.
And do some surprise inspection.
Yeah.
I mean, we do have people who are in a bad situation.
Yes, no, absolutely, absolutely. Anyone?
So you make the amendment on that?
I'll make the motion to accept the appeal and do some surprise inspections going forward, recognizing that our staff has done what they need to do, and there's no question of their integrity or whether or not they've done, but that it appears that there's more to this than meets the eye, and I don't think we should just say, no, you've got no recourse. That was not worded well.
No, because the specific appeal is, did the health agent inspect properly and make a correct determined ruling? And based on the information that we've received, what they witnessed when they went, my opinion is that they did act properly. But with the testimony we've heard, I would feel that we should also let the staff know that we want, as a board, random and surprise inspections over there until this is resolved.
That works if you want to word it.
So,
Yeah.
to clarify, the consequences of making a motion to uphold the appeal or to deny the appeal?
Right. So
What are the consequences?
Oh, well, that's what I don't know, is if we don't accept the appeal, then the inspector's findings stay. If we do, then we can order new inspections, and
Right.
not 100% sure whether no fines were issued. No, obviously, because there was no
No,
finding.
I mean, we
So-
clearly we have to accept the findings of the health department. However, the complainants can call tomorrow, if it happens tomorrow, correct? And just ask you to come out again
Oh, you can make-
and witness it. We don't have any documented proof of the complaints, right?
Right.
So there's no other consequences. What if we if we accept the appeal and say that the inspection was done improperly by the health department, what are the consequences of
I think
that?
all we can do is order a reinspection.
That's all you can do.
And if we accept it, they can still have a reinspection. They just need to call the department and say, hey, there are bags of human feces on the porch. We need someone to come look at that.
I mean, I think that's the lesson out of all of this is, call immediately and respond immediately.
I think that's what we're looking for going forward, because if this is really happening, it needs to stop.
Yeah, and I think
But we
that's,
have no proof
that's
of
what we
it.
can do as a board to direct staff to do that. The issue before us is the appeal. Do we vote a negative on the appeal or a positive on the
So
appeal?
I think we should approve Dr. Guadagnoli's motion.
You want to restate it?
I think I would recommend we keep it simpler. I mean,
Me too.
I think we need to deny the appeal that, I would make a motion to deny the appeal that the Health Department's inspection was done improperly.
Do I have a second?
State again.
I make a motion to deny the appeal.
So the inspector's findings are found to be
Correct.
correct.
Valid.
Valid.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second before the board. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye, I don't know.
Just aye. So, and then moving forward, Tom, the board would like to issue a order to the health department to do random inspections at this property moving forward and respond
As soon as possible.
as soon as possible to any complaints,
Right.
and to let the tenants and the landlord know that if they see something, say something immediately. And once we get proof, once we get,
Right.
then we can move forward with action.
Yes.
Okay?
We'll respond as soon as possible. It may not be immediately.
Great.
We're not first responders, but
No, I understand.
as soon as possible.
You understand
within 12 yeah,
the seriousness of the situation and the board's desires.
right.
Thank you.
Thank
The next item on the agenda is a regulation policy change. This has been continued from our last meeting. Nita Coleman, Director of Natural Resources, Sandy Neck Park Manager, proposing changes in dog control regulations, requesting feedback from the Board of Health. Good afternoon, Nina.
Good afternoon. I'll try to make this quick. We had a robust discussion at your last meeting about our proposed dog control regulation changes. Again, these regulations are from the 80s and are pretty stale. And what we're really trying to do is have the regulations match what we're doing in the field right now. So most of the questions are about that I received from the board at that meeting were with regard to where dogs are allowed at different times of year. So I thought I would give you some additional information. I was prepared this time, maybe answer some of your questions. So starting with the dog control existing regulations, I'm unfortunately behind you. I'm not sure if you can see it in front of you. Oh, you can. Excellent. Okay, so the existing regulation is extremely broad and can be, it doesn't really clarify the areas that we want to have this regulation. So the existing regulation says no dogs on town beaches or recreation areas May 15th through September 15th. And what we're proposing is a regulation that says no dogs on bathing beaches April 1st through September 15th without the written authorization of the town manager. There's a lot of questions on what was a bathing beach. These are our lifeguarded beaches, and they are listed there for you on the slide. And I want to note that the regulation would, for all other beaches not listed, so there's plenty of other areas that are considered beaches that are town-owned, all conservation areas, open space, townways to water, boat ramps, parks, all of those areas would be under the discretion of the appropriate town department to determine if dogs should be allowed in those locations. So basically, we took a very broad regulation and tried to hone it in a bit more to our specific bathing beaches. There was questions, next one, Derek. Yep, the other question that came up was the April 1st issue. So April 1st is what is required under the Endangered Species Act through their regulations. As I mentioned at our last meeting, we're definitely heading in this direction for our beaches. We're really under a microscope right now with the state dealing with beach raking and fireworks and Sandy Neck. I'm sure you have all heard this. And so we're definitely having to move into the direction of coming into compliance with that. For comparison, other beaches that are nearby us, Sandwich has no dogs on saltwater beaches April 1st, so they follow the April 1st guideline. Mashpee, no dogs allowed on beaches April 1st as well through September 15th. Yarmouth was a little confusing, so I threw Falmouth up there. No dogs on beaches May 1st through October 1st, so that kind of shifts, but it's the same amount of time the dogs wouldn't be allowed on those bathing beaches. And then finally, there were some questions about recreation areas. Unfortunately, John Gleason had to leave. He was here earlier, but did have to step out. So he briefed me on his desires for this regulation. Again, right now it says no dogs on town beaches or recreation areas. That's pretty broad. You could call a conservation area a recreation area. You could call a boat ramp a recreational area. Again, we're trying to really hone in and clarify these areas. And the proposed regulation is no dogs on town-owned athletic fields, athletic courts, cemeteries, or playgrounds without written authorization. I want to note that our ball fields are already marked as no dogs allowed per the town manager. So what we're trying to do is provide this regulation with a citation amount associated with it so that we can actually enforce what's already out there in the field for signage. Speaking to John Gleason, who's Director of Recreation, he would like to note that athletic fields, dogs in athletic fields are a real problem for him. It's the urine destroys the field, and some of the fields he has to lock because they're such expensive turf. And then, of course, the dog feces is also a major issue. People don't pick up, and so that's an issue for the athletic fields. The athletic courts, apparently, dogs do destroy the courts with their toenails. Cemeteries are already a no-dog area. And then playgrounds and courts and athletic fields. Dogs would be allowed around the outside of these recreational areas. We all bring our dogs to Little League to watch the games, but it's actually within the field itself. That's not a dog park. That's a athletic field. So I hope I can answer any additional questions. I hope that clarified some of your concerns.
Thank you so much for that. This is a public hearing. If there are any members of the public that will want to come forward and speak on these proposed regulation changes, please come forward. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Staff, any comments or questions on this?
No, I think the main question from last time was the April 1st versus the May 15th dates and the rationale for that. I don't recall any other questions. All the other questions were answered adequately. Thank you.
Okay. Members of the board, any comments or questions?
I'm just curious, because I know somebody who just moved to Marshfield, and there is a bathing beach there, and apparently dogs are allowed, period. It's not April whatever to, it's not May to, the dog can go to the beach and play in the water and do whatever. Why would the state be coming down on us and not Marshfield?
That's an excellent question. I don't know Marshfield. When I'm speaking about the state, and forgive me, I do that a lot. I just say the state. It's Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program. And so the vast majority of our beaches are what's called priority habitat. So they're designated as priority habitat for endangered species. And so that brings with it a lot of regulations. So the guidelines for that, because the species in question starts nesting April 1st and can be harassed by dogs. That's why the state, again, sorry I call it that, is really pushing all the communities to go to April 1st for no dogs on public beaches. The health piece, I think, would be more Tom would understand that. My understanding for the bathing beaches is they are water quality tested, and so we don't want the dogs on those areas in case there's, in case they go to the bathroom. But again, I want to like clarify, like Sandy Neck, there's just one area you can't have a dog. It's 1,000 feet long, but Sandy Neck is 6.5 miles long. So when I say bathing beaches, I'm talking about the area that is protected and that's in shorebird habitat.
Just for what it's worth, I still think May 15th is fine the way it is.
Any other board members, comments or questions?
Thank you, Lena. I just want to mention that I heard about this, that endangered species, HGSP came down and discussed with the conservations, discussed with Lena on this aspect of the date, of the timing of this, regulation stuff. So I kind of have a preview from that side of things compared to the Board of Health. So I don't have a problem with the language because it's kind of matching to what their concern is, but that's my view. So.
Okay. Anyone else? I would entertain a motion to adopt the proposed regulations? Or are we just advising?
Support. We just
Yeah.
support it.
Oh, okay. I wasn't at the last hearing, so.
Yes.
Supporting it.
The process is generally, for transparency, I like to bring our regulation changes to a board, and then next it would go to the town manager hearing, which would give the opportunity for the public to give comments as well. And during that process, I would say that I had, vetted it through this board.
Okay.
I have one quick question. So the April 1st through September 15 is to protect the piping plover, right? Or is that correct?
So the change would be the month and a half, April 1st to May 15th.
But-
And it'd be piping plovers and least terns. We have two species.
And lease turns,
Yeah.
okay. And I'm just wondering, how are the birds protected during that period from dogs on the non-bathing beaches?
So fortunately, they're all the priority habitat is our bathing beaches. It's our marquee beaches, Dowses, Calmus, Craigville, Sandy Neck, Colville's. Those are all priority habitats. So we don't have endangered species that's not on a bathing beach. So it worked out in
The
our
birds like the
well.
same beaches we do?
The birds, unfortunately, do like the same beaches we do. Yep.
Well, it's really important that the bathing beaches don't take up all the available beaches. There's plenty of other beach space to. Right. Okay.
Right.
Thank
Yeah, and I do say this, Sandy Neck, you can go to the right.
Yes.
That's new because we really felt like we wanted to provide a place for dogs to go to the beach.
Yeah.
I hear that loud and clear, so we're just trying to find that balance. And every year it gets harder and harder. There's more shorebirds, there's more people, there's more dogs. So I'm really just trying to strike a balance here with these new regs.
Yep. Thank you.
Sure, go ahead, Doc.
Are coyotes an issue?
Coyotes are a huge issue, yep. For piping plovers and least terns, that's correct, yep. In fact, really, if every predator you can think of, crows, raccoon, rats, they're all a problem.
You should make sure they get copies of.
I will, indeed.
So,
Massachusetts.
do you need an endorsement letter from us or anything, Nina? or
I
just-
would love a vote that, that you're endorsing the regulations as proposed.
Okay, I'm fine with that. Anyone have any objection, or just give a voice vote of endorsement?
Yeah, that's fine.
That's fine, that's
Yeah,
fine.
that's fine.
Why don't you do a roll call on just a voice vote of endorsement of the regulations? And then when you get the total, we'll just put together a letter and forward it to Nina.
Okay. John Norman,
Yes.
Tom Lee,
Yes.
Dr. Guadagnoli? No. Dr. Leskow?
Yes.
Dr. Caniff? Yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Nina.
Thank you, Lena.
The next item on the agenda, this is regulation policies, a proposal to eliminate number 6 of the list of administrative variances. If this proposed amendment is adopted, this would eliminate the health agent's ability to grant an increase in seating capacity to 25% above the maximum grease trap capacity. Staff want to give the rationale on that?
The reason I'm requesting this is as more properties are connected to public sewer, I want to make sure our policies align with the DPW, they do not accept the 25% capacity approvals at our counter, I'm sure, not even at the Board of Health meeting, but if someone wants to request a hearing, they still have the right to come to the Board of Health and request a hearing to have seating above the capacity of the grease trap. And that would make more sense as more properties are connected to sewer in the future. We don't want to cause a discrepancy with this policy.
Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing. If any members of the public want to speak on this item, come forward. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Members of the board, comments or questions?
No, I think it makes sense to make it easier.
Motion to
and-
approve.
Yeah. Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the regulation change. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous, Sharon. Next item on the agenda, for septic variance, Bob Walsh, general contractor, and Audrey Nielsen, owner of 36 Maple Way, Hyannis, map parcel 246-132. This is a 7,952 square foot parcel. This is a kitchen expansion requesting variance of a setback from existing septic tank to foundation to allow the septic tank to remain in its current location. Good afternoon.
My name is Bob Walsh. Thank you for taking the time to see me.
You got to make sure that little green light's on that mic, push.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was here a month ago asking to move the septic tank 5 feet to the right so we could build a small addition off the kitchen. Her kitchen is very tiny. She lives alone. And I was granted permission to move the septic tank 5 feet to the right. And one of the doctors had said to me, why don't you just leave the septic tank where it is? And it didn't hit me at the time because I was told I could not build this small addition without moving the septic tank. But then I confronted some health officials and they said, why don't you go to the next variance meeting and ask if we can leave the septic tank right where it is?
I talked to Tony McKean about
So
that.
I explained to Ms. Nielsen that if we have to lift this fiberglass tank up and move it 5 feet, it's going to cost $4,000. If the contractor cracks it, he's going to have to replace it. It's going to cost $9,000. So I'm asking the board, can we do the small addition less than the minimum feet from the septic tank and we leave it right where it is?
I agree.
Okay, thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Any members of the public that want to speak on this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Staff?
Staff has no objections. There was did you get a notice from one of the inspectors about making sure you requested all the variances, not just that one variance, correct? You're from it'd be from a foundation and from a property line. Just want to make sure you covered both.
Yes.
As you can see on the plan, there'd be two variances.
Is that what's written in the,
I had understood that one variance was existing, so we didn't have to reapply for that, and then one was setback from foundation. Is that how you were thinking?
Yeah, just want to make sure all the
so is there
variances are
an
covered.
existing variance for the setback of the property line?
No, I don't think so, but
Oh.
I just want to make sure everything's covered properly, that's all. Make sure you have it all covered. But the board can grant both variances, correct?
Well, it's not what's on the application before us.
It's existing, yeah.
So there is an existing variance for the setback to property line, because they wouldn't have been able to put it in the first
Right.
place, right? Okay. Okay. Thank you, staff, for that. Members of the board, any comments or questions?
No, I think if you move it, you becomes a problem
I think it's a
of
smart
cracking the
move.
tank. And the only question I have is nothing to do with the septic on your layout plan. You have a little room on the side there as a wash stations. Is that right?
Yes.
Not showing up on your as-built plan.
It's an outside faucet to wash when you come home from the beach to get
Okay,
the sand
okay.
off of you.
Okay.
It's not an addition, there's no foundation.
Right.
Is the proposed addition a foundation under it?
The proposed addition is a foundation
8
under
foot or
it.
4 foot?
The proposed addition in the back of the house is actually a 7-foot
Yeah, 7
to
foot
have
addition.
access to the boiler in the basement.
Okay. I mean, the only comment I would make is that, just for, belts and suspender if you make sure that they use the higher grade mastic coating on the foundation.
Right.
That way, if there ever was weepage from the tank, part of the reason they want the distance is in case
They
there's
don't
ever
want that
leaking.
coming in.
But if you put, instead of just a tar coating, if you put the mastic coat on, it's a much higher, level of water penetration
I can
barrier.
have them do that.
They'll have it dug out anyway,
Right.
so
The basement is uninhabitable. It's just to keep the boiler.
if it
and
migrates
you
in,
have to
it's-
have a bulkhead to have access to get to the boiler.
Yep. Right. Other than that, I'm fine with it.
Okay.
Okay, so we don't need to make it part of the motion, but just as a builder, you
Yes.
should, do that for the builder. I would entertain a motion to approve the variance.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the variance as written. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your time.
Bob?
You're welcome. Next item on the
Excuse me,
agenda. Oh,
Bob? Thank you.
he needs that.
He's going to give me a card.
Next item on the agenda, Peter McEntee, Engineering Works, representing Louis Xavier, owner 70 Main Street, Centerville, map parcel 208-061. It's a 4,820 square foot parcel, septic repair requesting multiple variances. Good afternoon, Peter.
Good afternoon. Peter McEntee with Engineering Works, representing Louis Xavier, for the upgrade of a leaching system on his property on a very, very small lot, which borders on Long Pond, has a failed leach pit. And so due to the constraints we have in area, we're requesting 4 variances. Under local upgrade approval, we have 3, a 5-foot variance SAS to property line on the side for a 5-foot setback, a 4-foot variance SAS to property line in the front for a 6-foot setback, an 8-foot variance SAS to the cellar wall for a 12-foot setback, and then under the local regulation, location components with respect to water bodies, we're asking for a 35-foot variance SAS to inland bank for a 65-foot setback.
Okay, thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak on this item? Come forward, sir, and state your name for the record. Peter, slide off to the side there. Just let him speak. Thank you.
My name is Robert Brown, and I live at 60 Main Street, next door to 70 Main Street. And I'm concerned with the survey that I looked up. Nothing showed on the boundary markers. And at the time the previous owner sold the property, he was aware there's a water main pit that's right on the boundary line. And I don't believe it should remain there, because if they're going to be doing all this work, they should move the water line. And I don't think they need a water pit there, that it could go directly into the house because there's a basement there. And this is a large water pit, and it's deep too, and I think it should be moved because it is on the boundary line, and there's a few other issues with it where the previous owner went right over the boundary line and did nothing about it, and he turned around and sold the property 3 months ago, or 4 months ago, without addressing any of these issues.
So just for clarification, the water pit is a meter pit, correct?
It's a meter pit.
Right, so the meter's in it because of non-access into the crawl space, correct?
It's a meter pit put in the ground, and above ground, the access door on it is not that big, but inside the ground, it's much bigger and goes right over the boundary line, as my surveyor showed me.
Did you get a copy of this
Yes, I
plan?
did.
So you're disputing the professional engineer's stamp on this plan?
Property line.
That shows the property line well away from where the water line is shown.
Yeah, I don't believe he surveyed that line there at all.
We have that location from the water department?
For the meter pit? Yeah. But the property bounds, that's part of your
Right.
PE, your stamps on it, so.
The water department doesn't show the water line going where it is. It's showing it goes more in the center of the house, and it's not. It's right on the property line.
Okay. Peter, did the water, you
They
typically,
did
you
mark-
dig safe it, did they come out and dig it?
We didn't have the water marked out.
You didn't?
I mean, the water, Hyannis, well, Centerville did not mark out the water service.
Com water did
Yeah,
not?
on your
'Cause usually they mark it-
survey, you
usually
show-
they mark it
You show
to
the
the
water
water
line
pit.
right here.
Wire, yeah.
That's not where the water line is. It's right over here on the boundary line, coming in at this angle.
If that's where it is, and it's further from the septic, but,
Yeah,
but
but
If you're disputing, because right now it's showing it 11 feet off the proposed septic system.
Right.
If it was closer than that, it really even wouldn't be an issue before us, because all he would have to do is sleeve it to meet Title V. So if it's in dispute, the location of the water line and the property line, that's not a Board of Health issue. That's a, you could bring that up, you could, go after COM for that, for, if it's on someone else's property, that's a COM issue, COM water issue. That's not a Board of Health issue.
we use the swing ties provided by the COM tie card.
But they can also come
And
out
the water
and locate
service
a
was
line.
going inside the side of the building, so.
Yeah, depending on how old it is, they may have they might have run tracer wire with it, they might not have. So
Right.
as far as locating exactly, but typically they have the as-built to the meter pit. And then that's why they put meter pits in, is because they don't have access into the crawl space for a
Right.
meter reader to come out and read the meter.
Right.
So that's the reason for the pit. But you're saying that you believe that location of that water line is close to that property line, or if not on it?
yeah.
Okay.
Yes, and.
I'd be happy to
this-
meet you out there if you can
Yes,
show me
that-
where it is.
Yeah, maybe just
Yeah,
contact
because
COM and set up
there's
a meeting
there's
out there.
al-
Again,
there's
this is,
also
I
other
could just say,
boundary
sorry, this has
issues,
nothing to do
like
with us,
this
but
wall
might as well
here,
address this,
And the
I'll
driveway
resolve that
too.
issue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I'm not faulting the new owners, I'm faulting the old owner who never took care of anything.
Right.
And he just used it as a rental property for 21 years.
As much as I would love that to be a Board of Health issue, it's not a Board of Health issue, but
Okay.
thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Oh, that's yours.
That's part of mine. And actually, I think, well, that plan's fine, too.
Um,
So, we're good. We
No,
got-
I think that plan is,
No, this one would be me. It's got my original signature on it.
oh, okay, I got mine right here. That's
Okay,
fine.
yep.
Okay.
Alrighty, thank you for that. If there are any other members of the public that would like to speak
Thank
on
you.
this item?
Okay.
Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Staff?
Staff has no objections. The plan appears to meet maximum feasible compliance standards.
Thank you for that. Members of the board, any comments or questions?
Tom, aren't the variances are supposed to be listed on the plans, aren't they?
Yes, they are, on sheet 2.
Are they?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the sheet 2
I
detail.
don't see
Sheet
it.
2, sheet 2 under the notes, the general notes.
Oh,
310
second
CMR.
page.
Yeah.
Yep, general notes there.
And it was nice of you to notify the people across the street.
Oh,
I don't know them, but I saw that you notified.
Did, just a quick question, and usually in these areas, they put a note on here for, like, they contacted sewer and found out when sewer was gonna be available? Do you know,
I don't know when sewer's going to be
now,
available.
Tom, did your staff look up that, this
That-
area of Centerville?
That was a question I had.
I
yes.
thought this area might be, like,
This is-
in phase 3.
Phase 1.
Is it phase 1?
Yeah. Have you talked to the homeowner about sewers coming and,
Connecting to sewer
what's that?
to about what?
About waiting till sewer comes before any work is done?
I haven't discussed that with them, no. I mean,
We ask people to consider that rather than spending money twice,
sure.
if it's possible.
I
If it's
think-
possible, keep it
I
pumped.
think
or-
they'd be open to that.
Yeah.
Because if this area is phase 1, they might only be 5 years away from having sewer available.
Okay.
And to spend the money on a brand-new septic system, we are looking at, additional pumping if it's overflow issue, or if it was just an inspection issue at transfer of property, but it's never bubbled out of the ground or anything. We usually try and grant some extensions,
Okay.
knowing that sewer's coming, so that, or if we grant variances, we say, we'll grant you your variances, but we want you to hook up to sewer within 6 months of it being available.
Yeah.
If
So
it's,
can you-
if it's a variance that, public health
grant the
hearing.
variances and have them explore that option with you?
Yeah, because, I mean, if you don't pull the permit, you don't pull the permit.
Yeah,
You know, so,
okay,
but
good.
we can grant the variances, and then you can have that discussion with them, maybe do some due diligence on the sewer department and get a really better idea of when sewer would be available out there, and then just make an informed decision with them as to whether to move forward with it or not.
All right, that sounds good, yeah.
Is that- Staff, everyone good with that?
Yep.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve the variances as requested.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
That's it is. Yes, sir.
We've had an issue with, we could smell, we could smell the septic all last summer next door.
Okay,
at the
if
property.
that happens again, just contact the health department, they'll send an agent out to inspect it, but,
Because are you saying that a new septic system wouldn't be put into the property?
well, see, what we're trying to do is, I mean, the hearing's over, we've approved these variances, just so you know, but I'll answer your question. We're doing a major septic sewer upgrades in the town of Barnstable, and some areas of the town are in what's called Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3, and that's years out. This area is Phase 1, potentially sewer could be available in 5 years. So as long as there's no sewage bubbling to the surface, and we will grant extensions so that people aren't putting in a brand-new septic system, spending tens of thousands of dollars, and then 5 years from now, having to spend the money to hook up to town sewer. So that's what we're saying. But if you, as a neighbor, smell sewer odors coming from the person's property, or you witness it, contact the health department, they'll send an agent out to inspect. If there is, then we'll issue they have to cease and desist. We clean it up.
Yeah, because I thought a new septic system would be put into it.
If sewer's 10 years out, then, yeah, they probably will have to put into septic, but if
So
they,
what would it be, a sealed system now? That
Hmm?
would be, what would be put in now?
nothing, they can just maintain it as is until the sewer's available.
Keep it pumped, in other words, keep it pumped.
Right.
But if there is an older issue, they will still have to correct the problem.
Yeah, because they condemned the system, I think, last October. So it's been an ongoing issue, too.
Condemn the system or septic inspection
Yeah,
for the sale of the property?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
So that's different than condemning it. But it's the septic inspection at the time of inspection failed. They have to upgrade it within a certain amount of time. And if they don't, it's because the sewer is available.
which could be.
They're going to look in,
8 to 10 years from
No,
now.
no, we don't do that. If it's within 5 years, we typically will allow people to pump, maintain. But if it's over 8, 10 years, then we'll say to them, you should upgrade. So,
Because
but this
it's-
hearing's over, but thank you so much. We already made a ruling on it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Is that effective that somebody's decided they can wait 5 years?
No, I'm just saying in general, like,
okay.
we typically, if someone's within 5 years, we try and work with them. If it's over 5 years, and then if it's on a pond like this is, or things like that.
Some of these septic sewers, 5 years could be 10.
Right. So once we, they'll approach engineering and find out if sewer, exactly when it will be available. Next item on the agenda is Daniel Ojala, Downcape Engineering, representing Alan, Matthew, and Daniel Chase, owners of 56 Red Wing Lane, Barnstable, map parcel 318-007. It's a 132,443 square foot parcel, vacant lot, requesting variances to allow perk tests at time of installation. Good afternoon, Mr. Ojala.
Good afternoon, Chairman Norman, members of the Board of Health. My name is Dan Ojala. I'm a surveyor and civil engineer with Downcape Engineering in Yarmouthport, and helping out the longtime owners of this property at 56 Red Wing in Barnstable. The reason for our request is a simple one. It's one of these glacial lake deposits over good coarse sand. I've got a sample of the sand here. I don't know if it looks like it came from Craigville Beach. It's nice coarse material, very little fines. There's absolutely no question that we'll pass Title V. It's just that it's 22 feet below the surface of the ground. And to get a excavation of that size is safely is very expensive. And they would like to sell the lot with the variance. And then we're not really asking for too much. It's just that the perk test will be done, but just that it be done at the time of installation, with the clause that, of course, that if for some reason the beautiful sand doesn't perk, which it will, that we cease and desist, and he would take that risk. Again, when you have a big excavator out there and the shoring systems and the safe slopes available to dig the big, even a test hole, you may as well put the system in. So it would just be a matter of economics. And then I think technically there was a marginal lot regulation. The first test hole, we didn't hit any water whatsoever. We went down. My engineer, Danny Gonzalez, was out there with Dave Stanton. They went down about 11 feet, broke into 3 or 4 feet of sand, then got back into clay for another distance of about 4 or 5 feet, and then broke into the beautiful medium coarse sand all the way down. Never hit any groundwater. The second time when they got back, similar profile, except that it had just been some recent rain, and on the second layer of clay in that sand layer, there was a little bit of perched water in one of the 2 holes. But that is enough that we would classify that as a groundwater table, Title V calls, even a perched groundwater, which is artificially held up above the true table, as a groundwater. But the good news is that's 11 feet below the bottom of our system. It's way down below grade. But that technically, I believe, is a variance under your marginal lot regulation. So we should have, I believe we did revise the request just to include that. If not, we can certainly do that at a later time. But the principal one is that we could save a little money for the long-term taxpayers by just doing that perk at time of install. That I think is a reasonable request. Again, it's not everything that has to be done according to Title V will be done. It's just the timing so that we could be issued a permit and then do it just prior to the installation to save a good amount of money. So that would be the request. I'd be glad to answer any questions if you do have them.
Thank you for that rationale. This is a public hearing. Are there any members of the public that would like to come forward and speak on this item? Please come forward. Identify yourself.
Hi, my name is Thomas McKenzie, and I'm in a butter to the property to the east. I have some comments and some photos. There's an ancient stone wall that runs along the property line that's not indicated on the plan, and it looks like the overdig for the leaching facility is within 5 feet of that stone wall. And as Mr. Ojala said, they're going 22 feet down, so I can't envision a 22-foot line straight down 5 feet from that wall and not upsetting that wall. So I'm against the variance. I think that the less clear cutting that could be done with an excavator to get down to have the proper perk test would be more advantageous than going in and cutting a giant area, because I think the overdig is close to 24 feet by 50 feet. Mm-hmm. And it runs along that wall, 5 feet off that wall. So I thought that if the variance was denied and the perk test was completed, there'd be less trees, less vegetation cut, so it wouldn't put that wall in jeopardy.
Well, the septic system's going in if the perk test passes. So in these situations, what they're asking for is that we grant the variance from CMR regulations on having the perk prior to the issuance of a septic permit.
That's right.
What this is typically done in these areas, because it's clay so deep, is that you bring an excavator in anyways to do the septic system, and the homeowner takes that risk that they excavate this area out, they don't hit these soils that were from drillings, and they don't get the proper soil, and they might have to fill it all back in and not get the septic system. But they understand that risk, and they're pretty confident based on the geology. So I'm not quite sure, because no matter what, the holes are going to be dug, because if we don't grant it, and we heed your request, and we don't grant the variance, they're going to do the perk test because the value's in the land. They're going to disturb the area big enough to safely get persons down to 22 feet below grade to do the water test, the perk test.
Which would be a lot smaller than the area of the overdig.
But if it passes, They're going to
Right.
get a septic permit, come back 10 days later and put the septic system in and dig the big hole.
Like you say, if it passes, right.
It's the geology up
The
there. is
sieve
pretty-
analysis,
The,
you know,
the geology up there is similar to your property. So if you've got a home that has a functioning septic system, they're more than likely going to have the same geology in that area.
possibly, yes.
And if they
But-
don't, that's their risk, and they're going to fill the hole back in, and they're
But
probably
they
going
can't plant the trees and they can't plant the vegetation back.
Yeah, they're going to be opening
Or-
up. Well, they can. There's soils always can be made to work. You either have to truck in, which is even more expense, or you have to build up. But if you dig all the way down to groundwater and then fill it all the way back in with clean sand, you eventually can get a septic system. So it's just
The
it's
other,
just-
the
it's
other
just a cost-
concern that I
cost
have
savings.
is that there's a utility pole right on Route 6A. And there's two guy wires that come off the utility pole that are in the overdig area.
That's not before us.
Well, if they allow the
That's
variance.
if the permit's granted, the septic installer will have to deal with that through the utility company. That's not a Board of Health issue.
Fair enough. I mean, like I say, I understand that if the variance was granted, they could apply for a septic permit.
Yep, and if they
And
go
then-
out there and
and then-
the geology doesn't match the drillings, then that's the risk they're willing to take.
Exactly.
But they feel pretty confident that the same geology that's supporting the homes right next door is consistent. Like, you know what I mean? Like the soil wouldn't all of a sudden change. It's consistent. So that's what they're banking on, and they're just asking us to just waive it because it is a big expense and a safety issue to get someone down that deep to do the perk test for just the perk test. And then if it passes, they come in, they get their permit, and then they're out there 10 days later doing the exact same work that they're asking to do. So it's,
And if it doesn't pass us, they don't do it.
they're going to change the
Or they're going to wait
variance.
for a septic to come down Route 6A.
Right, but again, that's if we believe the geology could be different, and there's too many homes around there that the geology is supporting, yours one of them, that it's pretty consistent up in that area. I mean, I've done a lot of digging in West Barnstable. That's where
As in,
that's
yeah,
where West
Barnstable
Barnstable
Village.
brick used to come from, was
Right.
all that clay up there. So it's pretty consistent.
And again, Dan Ojala from Downcape. This is the first I've heard of that concern, and I understand it. Those are nice old historic walls. Really, we've actually got quite a bit of room on this site. Would have no problem with a condition that overdig be no closer than 10 feet from the lot line. And the wall is shown partially going up the line, but it does go all the way up. So, that way we could keep the overdig 10 feet off the wall. That would give a better margin of safety. We'd be happy to have
Again,
that
we're
as a
not here to
condition.
approve the septic, we're just here to approve the variance.
But if you want to
waive
put a
the-
condition in there that the overdig be no closer than 10 feet to the rock wall, would be happy to do that.
Who owns the rock wall?
It's on the line, so it's a party wall.
I did see a photograph. It's an ancient wall that, really shouldn't be disturbed if possible, if he has the space to move.
Well, again,
that.
he's got, lots of area, they can move it,
Yeah.
so. Any other members of the public that want to speak on this item? Come forward. State your name. Dan, can you clear off the podium there? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I have grave concerns about this variance. This property, Wellesley Marsh, 3565 Main Street. I'm one of the abutters. There are a myriad of reasons why this particular property is of concern. It's been in this particular family for quite some time, and I'm sure there's a reason why it hasn't been developed up until this point. And what I believe is that it was perked once upon a time long ago, and it didn't pass. And those records were destroyed, unfortunately, when the town had them. And since that time, we live there, we see the changes at the property, we see the delicate nature of the ecosystem there. The vast majority of the property is wetland. And just to the right of it is what we believe is a vernal pool. Where this particular property is being proposed, all the way to the right, is of good reason because of the setback from the wetland. And I know that that's a conservation area. But with his plan and the reason stated for the variance, stating of hardship, is a bit surprising because when you look at the plans for the building itself, this is a 2-story, 4-bedroom home, complete with a guest suite. So when the reason for the variance states financial hardship, it's a struggle to understand why they wouldn't just go through the regular regulatory process. I understand that the first set of perks that did not pass, some did, it looks fine. However, we have regulations in place for a reason, and they're in place to protect what we have. And I urge you to please don't grant this variance and have them go about the right way under the regulations in place. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any more members of the public like to come forward? Come forward, state your name.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. My name is David Rees. I am Wellesley Marsh's husband. We live in the house directly opposite this land. I don't know anything about the technicalities, but the question I have is, if you've got it in front of you, you will see Main Street and you'll see Red Wing Lane. They want to build a property on 56. On the other side of Red Wing Lane is, I think, 3543 Main Street. It's separated by a single dirt road. The Chase family own both lots, and they own number 61. They own 4.5 acres. Please explain to me why that's a hardship if they own 4.5 acres. They are on record of having owned these 3 lots since 1977. But my point is that the Main Street address, which is to the west of Red Wing Lane, which is separated by a single dirt track from the property we're looking at, 6 months of every single year, it's under water. I mean, I'm not talking about it's soggy, it is underwater. Many years ago, I had a snapping turtle come into my yard. I picked him up, took him over, and put him back in because it was deep enough for a turtle to exist in that place. I went up Red Wing Lane today. I took 2 photographs of 56. There were puddles of water. I mean, a lot of water. I mean, the photographs are quite plain. You can see water. It's not just on the surface, it goes down. So I just don't understand why the process can't be done, that a proper perk is done before any damage is done. And I wanted to ask, because I don't know about this, does this mean that they can put a septic system in that could then be turned down subsequently and be filled in?
No. What the process is that if we deny this request for the variance on how to do a perk test before issuance of the septic or after, what the hardship is that when you have depths this deep of where the good soil is, the good soil that they will build up from with trucked in perk sand is at 22 feet down. So OSHA regulations, when you have a person go down into a trench or anything like that, you have to dig it like that, or you have to provide shoring.
Right.
So if we don't grant this variance, they're still going to move forward with their application. They're still going to do what they want to do as of right, but they're going to go out there with a very large excavator and they're going to dig a hole that's almost as big as what the septic system is going to be.
Right.
And they're going to get a ladder and safety gear, and they're going to put people all the way down, 22 feet down, and they're going to do a perk test. And if the soil passes, they're going to fill all that back in again.
Okay.
They're going to wait 10 days while they finish the application process and get it approved as of right. It won't come back to the board. It'll go to the health department for issuance. And then at some point in time during the construction of this project, they'll go back out there and do the exact same thing and dig all that soil out again to put the actual septic system in.
Okay.
So in these cases, people come to us and they say, it's so deep, I'm going to have to dig such a big hole anyways. I'm willing to take the risk based on the geology of your home across the street and their home next door and the homes, that the geology supports a septic system. Now, there's a chance, might be 0.01 chance that they don't find good soil, but they're willing to take that financial risk. If you're asking the board to not grant this, make them dig that big humongous hole, do a perk test, I understand that, but that's all they're asking for. Everything else that you're talking about is as of right with that types of property. Where they place the home, all that has nothing to do with what's before us. What's before us is, do we allow them to do the perk test at the time of installation of the septic system, since they're going to have to move 400 or 500 yards of material out of the way anyways? Or do we make them do it beforehand, backfill it, pack it down, load the excavator up, and leave for 10 days, 2 weeks, or 6 months while they build the home after they get their building permit issued because they find the good soil? That's what's before us.
Okay. Now, I know this isn't I'm going to ask the question, and you'll probably say it's nothing, but this is not what it's about. Do you have the drawings of the proposed house on the lot?
We have the bedroom count.
Okay.
Which is
okay.
What's,
I would like to ask
where the
where the front door of the house is.
It's not before us.
Because if it's on 6A,
it's not before us.
The Old Kings Highway Commission is going to...
Should we grant this variance to allow them to proceed with their septic system without doing the perk test first is the only thing before us.
Could I just ask you one question? In doing this, would all the vegetation that's running along the existing stone wall remain in place?
So the question is, I assume along 6A, all that heavy vegetation?
Yep.
Well, it certainly doesn't exist on the land to the east of us. I guess it would be a personal preference of the homeowner. Personally, I'd probably leave it, but I have no idea what they would do. The walls are generally thought to be historic structures, and they'll be protected by Old Kings Highway. This building will absolutely go in front of the Old Kings Highway for a full vetting and view, and you'll be public notice. You'll be notified of that. You can help choose the color of the shutters and everything else that they do in the historic district. The driveway will come off of Red Wing, so I think the street address will stay off of Red Wing. In terms of where the front door is, it may face 6A just to look proper, but I think they'll leave the street address as Red Wing because that's where the fire truck would pull in. But
Dan, I appreciate you taking the time to answer that question, but that's not
exactly
what's before us. I appreciate your willingness to answer that question, but the question before us is the variance of the septic
Right,
perk.
but the point is that they can do this and completely clear cut the whole area and then discover that they were wrong and you can't put a septic tank. It's all gone. It's all gone. Everything that was there is gone. That's, Anyway, thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Yeah.
Do you want another comment? One more quick one, please?
Yeah, and we'll certainly have the test done before, we'll know whether we can build or not before we clear cut the lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm not saying we're going to, plus, it's one of the largest lots in the neighborhood. It's 3-acre lots combined. There's a huge amount of upland in the front. It's a very grandiose and nice building lot, and not small by comparison to any of the neighbors.
Thank you. I'll be quick. Wellesley Marsh again. That is true. It is a very large parcel of land. The majority of the land is wetland. And I just wanted to quickly add that I spoke with someone in the Conservation Department today, and they did confirm that the majority was wetland. But in addition to that, he looked at the geographical flow of potentially of the groundwater in that area, and he said that that would probably pose a significant scrutiny by them because of the nature of the area and the wetland, proximity of wetland, and what we believe is the vernal pool as well. So that's what makes this particular parcel of land so delicate and sensitive. And like I said, that's probably why it hasn't been built on, because it has, from what I believe, what I was told, it failed before with a perk test many years ago. And I would respectfully urge you, if they could please perk it prior to, and if you could consider denying the variance.
There's a whole process that has to happen before they put any equipment on the site. If we grant this variance, they don't have to put a machine on the site until much further down the road. of the permitting process. So let's say we grant this variance, and Dan can speak to this, then they move forward with submitting to Concom, and I point to Tom because he's the chairman of Concom, sorry, I had to identify that. There's all sorts of different, there's Old Kings Highway, there's all those
understand.
steps along the way, they might get denied. And if they get denied, there's been no excavation on the site. But they're not going to move forward with all those other steps unless the perk is resolved. So if we force them to do the perk, they're going to dig up this site, and maybe they go to Old Kings Highway, and Old King Highway denies them. Maybe they'll go to Concom, and Concom denies them. But we made them do a perk test and tear up that whole 500 yards to get down and verify soil that they really know is there. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
So I'm not saying, and I'm not tipping my hand how I'm going to vote.
Yes.
But I just want everyone to understand, we're actually trying to preserve work to be done there because there's so many more steps along the way before they actually get a building permit to construct.
Thank you. I remain concerned with the reason for the variance.
Okay.
For the financial hardship, and I would urge, because of the delicate nature of the property, that the regulations are followed properly without granting this variance.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Are there any other members of the public that would like to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Staff?
Title V speaks directly to sieve analysis is only supposed to be used for repair, not for new construction. For that reason, I don't support this request. Thank you.
I'm sorry, could you say that again, please?
So a sieve analysis is when they take small samples of sand, and you can drill down and take a sample, and then give borings. And they say, this is what the soil is from 0 to 5 feet, and then they take another boring from 5 to 10 feet, they take soil, and then they can find the good soil that they're looking for, and especially in areas of the town of Barnstable and Cape Cod, there's areas where there's really bad soil until you reach like 20 feet. Wings Neck and Sandwich, different areas on the North Shore typically have this soil. So they can take a small, bag sample of sand, and then they do a sieve analysis, and they say this is a soil that can support a septic system, or this is a soil that cannot support a septic system. So the sieve just looks at the soil, and they looked at it. Basically, there's like a chart you flip over, and it's like, oh, this is this soil, and it matches this, and so they do a sieve analysis, which Title V, Mass DEP regulations are to be used for failed septic systems, for the repair of failed septic systems. In new construction, they really want a perk test done prior.
Right. Yeah.
But the local board has the right to waive that in certain circumstances and situations. And that's what is before us, is that should we waive that so that if they go to step 3 and they go before Concom and Concom says, nope, denied, you're not going to get a permit, we haven't torn up 500 yards of material to get down to do the perk test, to get someone in a hole that's 22 feet deep, that either is going to have pile-driven shoring, or it's going to have sloped enough to meet OSHA regulations to get a personnel down that deep.
Yeah, and to be clear, there's a very important distinction here. Like the last one we asked for on Whitecap, you denied it. You said you have to do the perk before installation. So we're not asking to do the sieve analysis. We're asking to do the perk, just push the timing back a little bit to save money.
Right.
So to Tom's point, absolutely not. New construction, no sieve.
Yeah, no,
The only thing we're doing that is a gauge. Look, this is hourglass sand. There's no fines in it. It will perk. It's just that, can we please push that back to save, many thousands of dollars in the installation? And I would say that, these guys have been paying taxes since 1979. They may not have no money left, It's, you can't judge if they sell the property. But it's for them to come up with that after, in the timeline. We just would appreciate the deference not to use the civil analysis, to do the proper perk test, but just to push that timing closer to the installation.
My other rationale is we're setting a precedent for opening up more of these requests. This is the second one from Down Cape in just a matter of a few months. You're going to be receiving more of these requests if this is granted. That's all I have. Thank you.
What was your first comment, Tom?
Title V specifically says that sieve analysis is used for repair, not for new construction. This is new construction.
They're not going to be issued a permit based on the sieve analysis, though. They're going to be issued a permit based on the perk test. The perk test, if it happens at the time of installation, and it does not pass, they're taking the financial risk that they've gone through all this to do a septic system, and it doesn't pass. That's why he said they're willing to move forward and take that risk, because of the borings showing and the soil samples show it's very consistent to supporting a septic system, as the many houses around them support a septic system.
Just as a hypothetical, one other thing we could do is get a big shoring system with a fence around it, do the perk test, pass in the plan, wait the 10 days with this huge gaping hole in the earth with a safety fence around it, hope nobody falls in for 10 days, and then do it. But does that really make sense, you know? And I think it only makes sense to dig this big excavation once. So that is respectfully the request. But if you don't feel that you can grant it, we understand. But I think it's reasonable, and we're not asking for a sieve analysis. It's just to do the perk just before the installation.
Is there any difference in the amount of excavation that's going to be done based on our decision today?
Yes.
Well, yes, I guess there absolutely would be. You'd have to do it twice, not the entire thing, but a good percentage of it, probably at least half of that soil removal to make it safe enough to get personnel down there. And so that would be completely pushed back in, leave the site, remobilize, do the same thing again, a little bit bigger. So it would be absolutely a duplication of effort.
I understand that, okay. And, but there's no way it's going to be less than, let me put it this way. Doing the perk test requires a massive amount of excavation.
Yes.
When the soil is 22 feet down.
Yes,
I mean, if it's a
I
standard,
understand.
Centerville home where the
Right.
soil is 5 feet deep, it's, you're in
I
and
guess I
out.
want the abutters to understand, like, there's going to be a massive amount of excavation done on the property, whatever we decide.
Right, because they're either going to dig down to find the soil and verify it, or they're going to dig down at time of installation. But
So,
either
right.
way, there's going to be a massive excavation, which is the right of the homeowner to find if they have the good soils.
Yeah, and the soil logs show the soil is there. There's about a 3-foot band of sand, another 4 foot of clay, and then we never hit bottom. There's another 4 foot, 4.5, 5 feet of good, nice coarse sand, dry as a bone. So we can excavate it down. We'll perform the perk test. It will happen. It's just that the phasing of it, if we could save a little bit of effort, we'd appreciate it.
Tom Lee?
This morning, when I read through these applications, the first thing coming to mind, just like Tom says, sieve analysis is no. You need to do the regular process when you're building a new homes. That's under the Title V. Second, when you're looking at the location of this SAS, the leaching field, to me, that is a question from you, for you in terms of constructability, because it's 20-somewhat feet deep down, and it's so close to the property line. And now we hear that there's a stone wall. So you need to figure out whether that is the right location or not.
Yeah.
Sitting here and looking at it and thinking about the safety of the deep hole, that is the concern of mine.
Yeah.
That, yes, I think ultimately, if you can find the good soil, you can want to go to that deep, you can do it at that time and save some trouble. I don't believe a hardship can justify this case, because I'm not concerned about the hardship in terms of financial and stuff like that, because the safety is my concern.
Yeah, I've personally done them 17, my feet were 17 feet below grade without shoring. I should never have done that. It
You
was
should never
probably
done that.
25 years ago. But in this blue clay, the walls do stand straight up, and it's a pretty safe excavation effort. As soon as you break into layers of sand, though, the beds do fall off, and we're going to probably use shoring and certainly safe slopes. But it's a pretty unique area in that, like we said, with the beautiful blue clay, it's as sturdy as can be with a vertical wall, which is not the case with a granular material.
Well, for myself, I wouldn't stamp the plan like that. I mean, if you want to go and try it,
Yeah.
you can,
No,
but you're taking
we
a
can
chance.
tell from the test holes, we got pictures, it holds up very well. But yeah, I think moving it off the lot line a little bit would be prudent no matter what. And we're happy to do that.
I spent some time yesterday on the phone with David Stanton, who's the engineer, the inspector for the town, who did the test and has done the other one that was across the street or right in that neighborhood that Mr. Holger talked about. And I've always been a little leery with perch water, but I don't fully understand the completeness of it. But David Stanton convinced me that this is the best way to go. So I'm going to rely on his recommendation and what I heard here from Mr. Ojala. It's going to happen anyways.
Yeah, I'm not seeing the benefit to having the process done twice. It has to be done once, either way. Correct?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, the difference is 60% of it is going to be excavated to get it safe enough to do a perk. So once it perks, then you might as well just finish the last 40%, put the septic in, be done. If you make them go out and just do a perk, they're going to dig out 60% of the amount of soil in order to make a 10 by 10 area safe enough for the inspector and the engineer to go down,
Yeah.
dig the hole, put the bucket in, pour the water in, time it, and then backfill it all.
Yeah.
Come back 10 days later after you get a permit and start all over again.
And you're not going to do any other work on the property until you're for sure that it passes the perk. Because that would just be a waste of that'd be a waste of the homeowner's time and money, right?
Certainly nothing related to this. I can't bind the homeowner if he wanted to have a sheep farm and push everything
No,
off.
he could do
but-
what he wants. It's his property, yeah.
Yeah. But other than that, no, he doesn't have any plans to do anything. It's kind of cleared from where the tractors went in before. That would be the area we'd be working in, so.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you for the explanation. The public hearing was closed. I'm sorry, all set. And entertain a motion. Anyone want to make a motion?
Motion to approve.
Okay, fine.
I have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor of approving the variance as requested? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None? That's 5-0. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Sure. And then there was the matter of that marginal lot. Did we determine whether we needed that or not, Tom? I think we sent in a revised request. Did you
Yeah,
guys get that email and so
If
forth?
there's perched water, you need to request a variance from the Board of Health if you don't have 5 feet above, of naturally occurring sand above the water table. That, you can
Correct.
answer. Do you have 5 feet of naturally occurring soil above the water table, the perched water?
No, because it's 14 feet below grade where we hit that perched level. So I have a document here where we sent in a revised request with that. I don't know if you received that email or not.
So that's a second variance the board would have to vote on.
It wasn't on the agenda,
It's
so
not on the agenda.
Oh, it didn't make it onto the agenda?
it's not listed as one of your variance requests.
Okay. All right, we'll do that at the next hearing then. But it's, again, between we've got 11 feet from the bottom of the system. I think that's intended if you've got a very low lot with high groundwater. That was the last variance on Wendy Way you guys had approved that. But this is a much better situation. But we'll refresh that email and get it on the next agenda. But I thank you very much for your careful consideration. This was the big one and very important. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Can I ask the board to word this letter, this variance granted letter, similar to the previous case where we put the risk on the applicant that if the perk test does not pass, any construction must cease immediately and put it back to, as best as possible, the natural state of the property afterward if it doesn't pass. It's at the risk of the builder if the perk test does not pass.
Well,
Then-
depending on how you define it fails, because, you can have a slower rate, perk rate. and
Right.
bigger SAS.
Mike's not on. Tom.
That's correct.
So your perk test could have a slower flow rate that you need a bigger SAS for the field to accommodate that 4-bedroom stuff.
Yeah,
So
I
they
mean,
can still modify it.
I've been on properties that were 20 minutes per inch. I
Right.
mean, you
Yeah.
just design it bigger.
Right,
You have to cease construction immediately, redesign the plan,
correct.
and submit it to the health
Yeah, I
department.
mean,
for review.
all right, this is done. Next item on the agenda is a food variance. Yep, thank you, sir. Tom Lee has to get going because he doesn't have enough to do, so he's also chairman of the Conservation Commission, so. Thank you for your time, Tom. Next item on the agenda is the food variance, Wayne Hyman and Misa Rojas, Craigville General Store, 628 Craigville Beach Road, Centerville, map parcel 246-028. In the saltwater estuary protection zone, property is a mixed use with a two-bedroom unit on a second floor, requesting a variance from Title V to exceed the capacity of the septic system to allow 12 restaurant seats, exceeding the capacity of the design soil absorption system and toilet facility variance. Welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Misael Rojas. I am the manager of the Craigville General Store. The store has been open for the past 110 years, servicing the West Hyannis Port and the community of Craigville Beach and Cowell's Beach. We're going through a financial hardship as of we have invested all this money doing the septic, the grease trap, internal and external, as of 500 gallons added. We were thinking that this year we were going to connect to the sewer system. Eventually, there's a delay with that, as we all know. In top of that, a little note about the variance as well. There's another variance, I believe is CMR 322-4, which is talking about the toilet facility. In our previous site plan review from May 20th of 2021, the plumbing inspector agreed of this bathroom being used as a unisex for the patrons that will be in our store. So we're asking for a variance request in this case for the 12 seats as well as the toilet facility that we have in there, sir, members.
Okay, thank you for the rationale for that. This is a public hearing. If there are any members of the public that would like to speak on this item. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Staff?
There are some serious issues to consider here. First of all, with the septic system variance, we calculate based on the engineering plan designed by Pete McEntee. There's only enough capacity in that leaching facility for 2 seats, not 12. So that would be similar to you approving 12 bedrooms instead of 2 bedrooms at a property with a small septic system. And as far as the restroom, yes, we would have no objection to 1 bathroom for only 2 seats, or for a restaurant with 2 seats. That would not be an issue. But when the plumbing inspector and the health inspector looked at the bathroom, this bathroom is very small. The toilet is inside a bermed area with doors on either side, so that the gentleman from his office with his bed in it, which is not, that's another issue, that the bed is not on the septic system plan. He has 2 bedrooms on the septic plan. That would count as a 3rd bedroom, and the system is not designed for 3 bedrooms. But aside from that, the person would have access to the bathroom, and the public would have access to the same bathroom from another door, and there's no locking mechanism. My understanding is that the occupant could walk in on this person that's using the bathroom. So there's some issues with this bathroom. The plumbing inspector looked at it yesterday. The toilet is inside looks like a bermed area with a shower head in it. A handicapped person could not get into that bathroom, or someone would have difficulty getting into that bathroom that couldn't get over that berm to get to the toilet. So there's some issues with that. This started off on the wrong. This whole application process has been a problem. The applicant did not submit floor plans before they started construction of a restaurant at this location. There was no hand wash sink. There was wood surfaces. There were several issues with this application. They resolved a few of those issues. What's before you today is a variance request that just cannot be granted based on Title V sewage flow estimates. And again, that one I suggest should be denied. The second request for the bathroom, it could be granted, but with a condition that a properly sized bathroom should be constructed for public use. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
If I may, sir? I
Hold
would
on a
like
second.
Pardon
It
me?
goes in a process. We go to the board now. So members of the board, any comments or questions?
What is it, on the letter from Town of Barnstable Site Plan Review, on the first paragraph under Kate Maldonado, Assistant Director of Planning Development, says the proposed use is not allowed in the zone in which it is located. So what's the sense of applying for it if it's not allowed?
We have everything that it was mentioned. It has been already corrected. Walls and everything, sinks and all that stuff. We definitely want to comply with the health department, and of course, the safety of our employees and the public is our main concern. Everything else has been done, changed, wooden, removed.
What about the use? It says the proposed use.
Yeah, it seems to be from the last visit of the inspector, he noticed that the office, there was a double-sided door that didn't have a lock. This is probably the common.
That doesn't refer to use, though.
To the use, well, I believe that they were referring to the fact that the person that's in the office gets use in that same bathroom in that area as well in the same time.
That's not what they're saying.
Paul, this was
21.
sent, from 2021 to Attorney Corain. So I'm assuming they wouldn't have issued the building permit to remodel without clearing up that use question through zoning, whether Attorney Corain did his zoning, but either way, it's not what's before us.
Well, I don't believe that's the case. I think use means
It's not a Board of
use
Health
a
issue. It's
restaurant.
not a Board of Health issue. That's a zoning issue.
Oh, I mean, but this,
They wouldn't have given him a building permit to remodel if the use wasn't signed off. So, but this was 2021. But the septic issues from David Stanton are more our purview.
Right.
yeah, I mean, I agree with what Ton has to say anyways.
Yeah. The size of the system is very concerning and all that.
Yeah.
But the use of, that's a zoning board issue.
I thought the sewer goes directly by that.
Is Craigville Beach Road sewer going in soon?
In the near future, I just don't know the date.
Oh, I thought that, what was the construction that happened all?
That was the
Yes.
power lines for the windmills.
Oh,
It'll be good to
But
mention.
They put the pipes in the ground while they dug it all up.
Oh,
It's just
okay.
not tied into the sewer yet.
Oh, okay.
That was part of the plan.
Okay.
They gave them the right to put their power lines in as long as they added sewer pipes in the same trenches. Sorry.
Yes, it'll be good to mention that the external grease trap of 500 gallons that we have installed would be like an extra flow of the septic that we already have. And considering it's approximately 33 gallons per patron, as we're going to have 12 seats, we come close to the 400, plus the already 400 that we have with the 2 bedrooms will be a significant flow in that grease trap as well.
If the board could look at page 2 of the engineering plan, and the box to the bottom left clearly shows the design for the septic system of a retail space and a 2-bedroom apartment, not 3, but 2. And it's very limited. The overall capacity of that system is limited to 291 gallons per day. That's all you have. If you subtract 220 for the apartment, you have 70 gallons left over. 2 seats for a restaurant.
How many gallons left over?
70 seats. 70 gallons left over.
Seven?
So 70.
70, so it would only accommodate 2 seats for a restaurant.
35 gallons per seat.
Yeah.
That doesn't count the office that's being used as a bedroom or a split use. That's another 110 gallons. We're not even counting that space that's being used by your partner for an office and bedroom. I hope that clarifies it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments, members of the board?
Once you're connected to town sewer, the number of seats they could have there, would be,
Based on just the grease trap size.
based on the grease trap size. Got it.
Right.
Yep.
The flow rate for the leaching would be irrelevant at that point. But, Dr. Waller, you'll be voting on this item. If you have any questions, let me know. Thank you. Okay, Dr. Guadagnoli had to step out for a minute, but we still have quorum. Any other comments or questions? Anyone want to make a motion?
I would make a motion to deny.
Both
the
variances?
variance.
Second.
I have a motion to deny both variance requests and a second. Roll call vote, please, on this, Sharon?
Yes, Dr. Lesko?
Aye.
I'm sorry, what was it? Aye, yeah.
Aye.
Yes, on the
Dr.
motion to
Caniff?
deny.
Yes.
Dr. Waller? Okay, and John Norman?
Yes.
Okay. so
I'm
it's
sorry,
unanimous.
your variances request has been denied. But, look into sewer and what the time frame is, because I think you'll have a lot more flexibility on this property without having to expand, because that's, because of the sensitivity of this area in the saltwater estuary protection zone, it's really difficult for us to grant these type of variances. But, the future looks better once sewer is online for Craigville Beach, then it'll open up a lot more possibilities for you, so.
Thank you for the
But good luck
opportunity.
going forward.
Everyone, thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is Stephen Roy, Fresh Catch, 460 Main Street, Hyannis, map parcel 309-225, requesting a Title V grease trap variance from Kitchen Flow. Currently, 2,500-gallon grease trap allows 166 seats, requesting a variance to temporarily allow 275 total seats until November 2023. An additional grease trap is scheduled to be installed in November of 2023.
Hi, how are you? My name is Stephen Roy. I've owned the restaurant since 2005. On behalf of Candace Domos, my landlord, we're going to be installing a bigger grease trap in November, hopefully by Robert B. Hour, another 1,000 gallons. So right now there's 2,500, and we're looking to add another 1,000. When I purchased the restaurant in 2005, I had 262 seats, and then we went in front of the board to get another, I think, 12 seats for the outside dining. So, and we're seasonal. We're only open 6 months. We only do business, it's been shrinking and shrinking since I've started. It used to be a 14-week season, 12, 10, 9, 8. Now we're at 6. So I talked to Reddy Reuter, Robert B. Hour. They're willing to pump more if that's acceptable by you guys in the intermittent time until they do the dig up in November of this year.
Okay. Thank you for that rationale. This is a public hearing. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak on this item? Seeing none, close the public hearing. Staff?
Yes, first of all, we have an email from DPW Andrew Boulay with a copy to the town engineer Griffin Bowden. It says DPW will accept a temporary variance that would allow the owner to continue to operate with the existing grease trap under the following conditions: that increase pumping every 6 weeks, manhole inspections by a qualified contractor, and the grease trap and manhole shall be replaced within 9 months. So that's what they're asking at DPW, and I support this granting the variance with these conditions.
Okay, thank you for that, staff. Members of the board, any comments or questions?
Isn't this the first one we've heard them support?
Yeah, and I think it's because that was going to be my question. Have they applied for the grease trap permit for November installation?
From DPW?
No, for the grease, the applicant is saying that they want the variance until November of 2023, which is this November, because that's when they're getting a new bigger grease tank installed. Has an application been submitted to Board of Health, to Health Department to install that bigger tank?
No.
Okay.
And we haven't received a permit request, but it's undersized for the number of seats that are existing. That needs to be addressed, but we have no objections to granting.
Well, that's what they're saying. They're going to address it, but they can't address it till November. So they're just asking to
temporary.
kick the ball down field till November, and then they'll address it. Do you know if, do you have a signed contract with an installer or something?
It's not me, so I don't own the building.
Oh, right,
I
right.
lease it, I just cook
Do you
and
think,
run it.
as the owner's representative, do you
Yep.
think they would be okay if we put a condition on it that it must be installed in November? So
Yes, I've already
if we don't
spoke.
grant this, and then you get to November and go, no, you know what, we can't afford it, we're
Sure.
going to do it in July next year, that,
I've spoke with her, and she's already spoken with Robert B. Hour.
so she's committed, so
She's- yes.
so as a condition for this, if
Yeah,
we put
and
it
the
in.
manhole is a separate concern,
but
not
within 9
involving the
months,
seats.
yeah, get
But
that.
yeah, both are issues.
And
she's
you,
aware
do you
of.
have, do you think she'd have, the owner would have a problem with the condition from DPW that the grease trap be pumped every 6 weeks?
No,
Since
that
it's
would
only-
be my
Right,
responsibility,
but
which I would do.
It's only twice for the
Yeah.
whole season, that.
Yeah.
12 weeks, you know, okay.
I do that anyway, to be
Right.
honest, so.
Okay, well, if you're fine with those conditions, that's what I would be comfortable with?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, November wouldn't be 9 months, would it be? June?
No, DPW, I don't think was aware of the November 23, so what they're saying is that it's going to be part of that installation,
Okay.
is that they would upgrade the cover
Yep.
at that time, as part of that. And you'll see that, because I'm going to make a motion to add a condition that it be installed no later than November of 2023, November 30th, 2023, and the variance will expire if
Okay.
not.
Gotcha.
So then,
Because what they're suggesting is March of 2024, essentially, right?
if they close, yeah, but that's what they're suggesting, but we're not going to do that, because they're willing to do it in November. I'd rather get it done sooner rather than later. Okay, so I would entertain a motion to approve the variance with the condition that the November 30th by 2023, that the new grease tank would be installed, and that pumping of the existing grease trap would happen in a 6-week interval while it's open.
So moved.
A second?
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Dr. Waller? Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for your time.
I have
right.
one question.
Yes,
So,
Sharon.
did you want something in there about manhole cover?
That's part of the tank.
Oh, that's part of the tank.
It's a
Because I was
separate-
getting confused, because isn't there a grease trap issue and then a manhole?
There's a
It's a
issue?
sewer, yeah, it's a sewer manhole.
Sewer manhole.
They'd have to
Clean-
upgrade
clean
that
out. Yeah, it's
within 9
collect-
months, too. But
That's-
we can't issue that order because it's not part of our system.
It's not part of our
It's
system,
DPW would order that.
And she's aware of that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she'll, but just let her know where we're at as far as
For sure.
November 2023. We'll want to see it installed before the 30th.
Sounds good.
All righty, thank you so
Thank you,
much for your
guys. Thank you
time.
for your time.
Thank you.
Good luck this season.
That
The
was
next-
pretty good of the DPW to grant that.
I'm just shocked, wouldn't you? The next item on the agenda is Courtney Cursor, Kings Grant Racquetball Club, 12 Old King Road, Katuitt, map parcel 022-106, requesting a variance from saltwater estuary interim protection regulation, requesting a variance to increase seating from 39 to 85 seats. Good afternoon.
Afternoon. My name is Brent Kaiser. I'm with Kings Grant Racket Club. I know my wife's name's on there is Courtney Kaiser, but I'm here to speak on her behalf.
Okay.
So we are requesting a variance to increase our number of seating, outdoor seating from 39 to 85. We are a seasonal business. We're open June through October. The restaurant's only open 3 nights a week from basically 4 to 8, so we're not, it's a very limited number of times or number of people that are actually using the facility, which is why we want to increase the number of seats. All of the plates and napkins that we use there, silverware that we hand out there, it's all paper goods, so there's very limited washing. My father-in-law, who actually started the business in 1986, came aboard in front of the same board and got 40 outdoor seats. And part of our rationale for why we would like to get this variance and increase to 85 is, one, because of the limited number of hours that we're open, 3 days a week from 4 to 8, basically, between the months of June and October. We don't believe that we'll be really increasing the flow, the design flow for the septic that we have. We've got a 1,000-gallon septic tank, and we have a 1,000-gallon grease trap and a 2,000-gallon septic tank. The number of seats that are on, the 39 seats that we have are really dictated by the flow that is coming out of that septic to restrict our quantity of seats to 40. But really that's over like, at least it's my understanding, over an annual use. And because we're only using, we're only open June through October, 3 nights a week. Really, if we go back and look at how much water we've used and how much flow has gone into the septic over the last, 10 years, we haven't come anywhere close to the 42,000 gallons really a month that is allowed per the septic design that we currently have. So it's really because of that rationale we're hoping that you can approve the variance request.
Okay, thank you for that rationale. This is a public hearing. If there's any members of the public that would like to speak on this item, please come forward. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Staff report on this?
You should have received copies of the septic system plan on record and the Board of Health variance from 1986 that allows for outside dining at this property, but limited to 40 overall, both inside and outside, based on the, you can see the septic system was designed for 40 gallons by the engineer, Charles Spohr, I think is his name.
Yep.
The site is also in a saltwater estuary protection district, so you have this limitation of the size of the septic system, and it's in a saltwater estuary protection district. So again, I have no objections to outside dining, but I cannot support a request to go beyond 40 seats based on this information that we have.
Okay, thank you for that. Members of the board, comments or questions?
What was the number of seats you could approve?
It's designed for 40, the leaching area is designed for 40 seats. And it's in a saltwater estuary protection district, so based on the size of the land, we have to limit the flow according to our other regulations. The Board of Health adopted no more than 440 gallons per acre. How many acres of land do you have?
3.26. If we were to provide, just a question to help support you, if we were to be able to provide documentation from the last 5-10 years that said over the course of the entire year we've only used 25,000 gallons of water, and this current septic system which says on here on this the same variance request that it's allowed to have 40 seats, daily total effluent of 1,400 gallons in a 2,000 gallon septic tank. 1,400 gallons a day would be 42,000 gallons a month. If over the course of the year we only use 25,000 gallons, which is significantly less than it's designed for in just 1 month, is there an avenue forward to help support that?
Well, I mean, that's what the board considers, is if this was a year-round restaurant and you had a system that was designed to support 40 seats, and you were coming to us and saying, I want to support 85 seats, but I don't want to have to upgrade the septic system in an estuary protection zone, I don't think you'd get very far. What I'm doing personally, what board members are doing is then they're weighing in and saying, okay, what's the determining factors? You're only open 3 days a week. You're only open 4 months a year?
June through October.
So 5 months
a year.
5 months a year. So in the overall impact in the estuary protection zone, it's minimal, in my opinion, because of the limited hours and the limited use of the property. The question becomes, when we issue a variance, the variance goes to the property. If you sell the property and the new owners decide to be open 7 days a week, 12 months out of the year, so I may condition it that the variance is only granted to the applicant. It's not, can be transferred. It cannot, non-transferable.
Yeah.
So if you sell the property, someone else does not get the right. The variance dies with the applicant. But the impact on the property, is, I'm in the same thought process as you, is that this is the amount of gallons I'm putting in. The home across the street, which is occupied 12 months out of the year, has a family of 4 in it, has a 3-bedroom septic system, they're putting in more effluent, but they're as of right because they have a 1 acre property. So that's how I'm kind of doing the calculation. Mine, I understand the health department's concerns because it doesn't meet the regulation, and you're going from 40 to 85, it's like, holy mackerel, 100% increase in flow, you know? But, okay, but they're only open 3 days a week. They use a lot of paper products. They, you know, only open 5 months out of the year. So the 12-month impact to the estuary is still significantly less.
Yeah.
That's all I'm processing, so.
No, I agree with you. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Title V is based on, Title V is based on daily flow. It doesn't, they don't look at monthly, weekly, yearly.
Right, for the calculation.
So for, because it has to account for maximum flow for that day, has to be able, system has to be able to handle the flow for each day.
Right.
But you may be right about the saltwater district, yes.
I mean, it's two, what are those 1,000-gallon pits with 4 feet of stone around it?
Yeah. 1,400 gallons.
Have to consider the size of the grease trap isn't limiting the number of seats too.
Yes, that's what the variance is about, the grease trap and the size of the septic. Comments or questions, members of the board?
So should a restriction be not just for the applicant, but for the applicant who continues to use it in the way they're using it?
Right, the mic's not on. They want to hear you at home.
So should the restriction be not just that it's for the applicant, but that the applicant is restricted to only continue using it the way they're using it also?
Right, I mean, that would be my specificity to the applicant's condition is that it's only open 3 days a week, it's only open 5 months out of the year. And that even if they stay and run the property and they decide, you know what, why don't we open 5 days a week, the variance would expire. But,
So my
but I
concern
leave it
is
up.
that Title V is, you're saying is based on the daily flow.
You're
So
right.
on the 3 days a week it's being used, it's exceeding the daily flow
If they, yeah,
significantly. You're doubling the seat, right?
correct.
I have trouble
4
understanding how
hours a
we,
day.
I have trouble understanding how we can approve that when we've had other applicants with restaurants come in and we've said no. So.
I think that was a grease trap, though, didn't it?
That was
Wasn't it?
that was a grease trap, but it's similar in concept, isn't it? I mean, we're talking about daily flow for the grease.
It's actually
trap.
more impactful because we're not only considering the septic,
Right.
the grease trap, because I've always had the opinion that if someone on a private septic system wants to vary their grease capacity,
Yeah.
the risk is on them, because if they contaminate their system and choke it off with grease, they're the ones that are gonna have to pay to have to put a brand-new septic system in.
Yeah.
But when you have an on-site private septic system that they're looking to vary the flow to double, and the leaching, and the grease, you know, it does. It can't, I'm, you know, processing all these numbers, and I'm
Yeah.
saying, okay, if it was a year-round application, if it was a 7 days a week application, restaurant, that type of thing, I would, you know, have, you know, tremendous misgivings about it. But the impact, you know, is significantly less than a property that is open all the time. So if they're, you know what I mean? Like if it's if the daily flow calculated to this property is 440 gallons, on the days they're open, maybe they go 550, maybe they go 600. But then it's closed the next day and they get zero flow. And then it's open and they do 600, which exceeds the
Right.
flow rate. But then they're closed, you know, and then after 5 months, there's no flow.
Yes, and I guess I'm thinking that the provisions in Title V are to both keep people within a flow, both on a daily flow consideration and on a monthly, yearly flow consideration. So there's both. I mean, if you overwhelm a septic system in the short term, you're going to contaminate the surrounding environment. Correct?
Well, you'll max,
if-
yeah. I mean, if
you exceed
aside
the
from
system-
bubbling up out of the ground, yeah, you maximize, you fill up the system.
Yeah, the system can't handle it, right?
If it's perking at a certain rate and it's exceeding how much it was designed to perk,
Right.
it maximizes the system. It
Yeah.
increases it maximizes it and burdens it for that period of time.
For that period of time, which will be the summer months.
Right.
Well, but, So does it contaminate or not? Or does it just average itself out over time because only so much can come through to begin with?
Well, the estuary protection zone is specific to nitrogen.
Okay.
So the nitrogen impact might be higher on Monday, but lower on Tuesday, and then when you average it out over a 12-month period, it's less impact than the house across the three-bedroom house across the street, which is occupied year-round. So, there's that question of the saltwater estuary protection zone and nitrogen input. The nitrogen input is significantly less because it's closed 7 months out of the year, and it's only doing restaurant flow 3 days a week. But it exceeds the design.
And the nitrogen, okay. And the nitrogen impact is not going to be on a daily basis, it's going to be on an aggregate basis, okay.
Right. Because nitrogen moves about 6 feet a year.
Okay.
So the stuff that's going into the bays right now
Yep.
was flushed 50 years ago.
Okay.
I sat in those hearings for many hours, listened to the engineers explain that.
I do want to state that we have no objection to 40 seats outside, and when it's bad weather, move the 40 seats inside, or maybe some combination 20-20. But I would object to more than 40 seats.
And this hearing was advertised and the abutters notified?
I don't believe the abutters are notified. No.
Okay.
He didn't ask for a variance from Title V. He originally asked based on some photographs showing pictures of seats inside and outside.
Well, the applicant says, seating total number of seats existing, 85. Total number of seats proposed, 85. So
Well,
that's
our certificate of occupancy from the building department, the occupancy load is 85, which is why we're requesting 85 seats.
Yeah.
Oh, that's based on standing, seating,
Right.
workers,
That's
employees,
everything.
everybody.
Yeah, that's
And
occupancy,
since-
which is different for the seating health department issues.
Right.
I think,
Do you think we'd be setting a precedent that, we have these really large homes that are seasonal, but they need to stay within their bedroom requirements for the septic? How are we not setting a precedent that are like, well, I want a 12-bedroom home, but I'm only there for
We've
the
had
summer months. And we can't say that.
No,
We
because
can't
we've
do
had those
that.
discussions, and that's why I've always said, we have to act based on you dying and selling the home the next day, and now the new
Yeah,
people
it's
are in there,
too-
and they decide to live there year-round, and that's why I'm leaning towards conditioning this to the applicant for these hours, for these days, so that if they sell or if they move on, the variance dies. And someone doesn't move in and say, oh, you have an 85-seat restaurant in Katuitt, I'd love to buy it. Open it
Yeah.
7 days a week, and
sir, what did you say the acreage, 3.5 or 3.25?
It's 3.1426. I can't remember,
Is that-
honestly. off the
That's
top of my
about 1,400. So it
3.14.
There we go.
3.14, pi.
Does it also, if we put all those conditions on there, does that cause compliance issues?
Yes.
Because,
Enforcement
if you're,
issues, yeah.
enforcement, because if you're saying 3 days a week, and then the owner changes his mind and wants to do it 7 days a week, how are we going to know that?
no, that's every issue. It's like, how do you
So,
know?
once you put those 80 seats in there, they can be used pretty much at will unless somebody's checking on it.
Yeah,
Which we don't have the resource. That's not the approach that we want to
The
take.
design criteria, and I've always made this argument even for a residential home, is, 110 gallons per bedroom. Where
Yeah.
did that come from? It came from someone saying, I don't know, the average person uses like a 55-gallon drum a day of water. So if you put two people in a bedroom, that's 110 gallons a day.
Right.
Well, what if you have 12 children and they're all girls and they take 20-minute showers?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're putting 1,000 gallons a
don't
day through your
discriminate.
septic system, you know what I mean? It's
Careful.
the design, you know what I mean? Like, I have daughters and they take long showers. So I'm just saying use, and that's why Tom Lee and I've had many discussions about design should be based on the outfall pipe. What are you putting out? You know what I mean? Like, measure it that way, then we know. But whatever, until then, that's the design criteria. But we're off track here. So what's the general feeling? Anybody want to give a motion?
Yeah, I make a motion to approve.
Okay, do I have a second?
Well, the variance wasn't requested from Title V.
No, it's from the estuary protection, right?
Correct. No. Well, he needs
Approve the 89, the 85 seats or whatever it is.
he needs to file a variance from Title V from flow rates, correct? Because it doesn't.
39 and 46.
This exceeds the Title V flow rates that are allowed.
Well, I'm assuming that staff guided them.
Yes.
This issue came up late in the process of the septic system is too small.
For,
Came up
78 seats.
Just came up recently.
came up recently for what? They,
During
someone
the
came
review.
in and asked to go from 40 seats to 85.
Right, but the capacity information was discovered, and the applicant did not request a variance from that question. The septic system is only based on 40 seats, not on 85. So his variance, the applicant needs to request a variance from Title V, in my opinion, in order to move forward on this. He did not do that.
Well, I'm assuming they asked for guidance from staff.
But it came up during the review process. You know, we reviewed the application, came up late in the review process, that this
So-
issue has not been, this is a major issue right here. You can ask for variance from that, but you still have, your septic system's too small for 85 seats.
So
Well, we could
to
quibble.
clarify, what's the specific variance request in front of us right now?
Well,
The only variance request is from the estuary protection regulation. The applicant did not request a variance to exceed the size of his septic system by doubling the number of seats that are allowed based on the size of the septic system.
okay, my point is that usually someone comes in to the health department and they ask, I want to do, I'm A and I want to move to B, whether it's increase seats, increase the whatever. And then staff says, in order to do that, you'll need a variance. And you need a variance from Title V, and you're also in the estuary protection zone, you'll need a variance from estuary protection. So you're saying that that was not what was
Yeah, it did
told to
not-
the applicant?
right, they'd have
And
to
they were
start
told,
over.
all you have to do is get a variance from Southwood Estuary?
So if we grant this
Don't know.
variance today, you still can't put 80 seats there because you need the variance
Plus, as you
for
pointed
the
out,
septic.
he hasn't notified the abutters either, as you pointed out. The
I
Title
think-
V variance requires notification to the abutters.
Yeah.
Was the applicant told that by staff?
No,
Okay.
it's an incomplete application then. I mean, if you
And then
want to
how
grant
did
the
it get
variance,
before the board? If it's not
we don't
complete.
fill these out, the applicant does.
I know, but staff reviews them and then puts it on the agenda, so I'm assuming that, you know,
Yeah, the restaurant operator had some photographs of seating outside, inside, and asked, why can't we have seating outside? Well, there's a letter from 1986 that says you can have seating outside. So you can vote to allow seating outside, but still, the property's restricted to 40 seats.
Should this be continued until we have a complete application?
well, it's May.
or
We only meet once a month, I mean, that, you know,
Or can we add the other approval?
it wasn't posted properly, it wasn't on the agenda,
Yeah, we
it's, you
can't.
know,
I
very,
know, That's that's kind of our fault, not.
I understand, but, you know, the neighbors could file a
Would it make any
lawsuit
difference if
and
I
say
told
they
you that
weren't
the neighbors
notified.
are all, the neighbors are the ones that actually eat at their place and
Yeah,
participate in
unfortunately,
the
I
place?
mean, I think where we're at, Mr. Kaiser, is, from what you probably are understanding is that if you want to increase from 40 to 85, it's a variance from Title V and the estuary protection zone. Somehow you got guided, and I apologize, your wife went in with the application process, was only guided to apply for a variance from
Yeah, that's.
The-
No, I understand, I
The,
get that, but our application, what I'm saying,
Is seeing some.
besides the neighbors being notified, our application for variance to Title V is going to say the exact same thing, right?
but it has to be posted, it has to be,
Has to go through the
it has to go through the process of vetting, and it has to go, you have to notify abutters because it's a variance to Title V. So there's really no sense in moving forward. What I'm going to do is recommend we would continue this, and that you get the application in, and that's up to you whether you've are kind of feeling a sense of some of the board members and then where they might land on this. You may just drop it, or you may decide to, go fill out the application for a variance from Title V. They're going to guide you through the abutter notification process so that they have the right to, argue the variance from the regulations.
Okay.
And then it would come back before us in our June meeting.
Okay.
So I'd make a motion to continue this to our June meeting.
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion, a second to continue. All those in favor? That's unanimous. So we'll continue this. I apologize for that. We'll get this straightened out.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Geiser.
The health inspector did contact this morning that should be withdrawn. But they refused
This
to.
morning, Tom? Come on.
They refused to withdraw. They wanted to come to the hearing.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is food temporary permit. Erica Sterling, Island Cafe and Grill, is requesting a temporary food permit for festivities on the flight line at the airport terminal ramp, 480 Barnstable Road, Hyannis map parcel 329-003. For June 8th, 2023, from 6 to 9 p.m., the menu is lobster roll, scallops, bacon, salmon, crostini, beef crostini, chocolate cake, cheese crackers, and fruits. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I just want to say thank you so much for your patience.
Oh, you're very
These meetings
welcome.
drag on, and I always feel bad for the people who are later on the agenda. So thank you for your patience.
You're welcome. All right. Good afternoon, and my name is Erica Sterling. My husband, Patrick Sterling.
I'm Patrick.
Good
And we're the owner of Island Cafe and Grill. And we are applying for a one-day food permit to cater for the event festivity and the flight line at the Gateway Airport.
Great, thank you for that. This is a public hearing. If there's any members of the public who'd like to speak, come forward. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Staff,
Staff has no objections.
members of the board,
Move to
comments or
approve.
questions? I have a motion to move to approve.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. Thank you so much.
Thank you, appreciate it. Have a good one.
Thank you all.
Enjoy.
Enjoy.
Thank you. Yeah.
Next item on the agenda, Alana Buddha requesting a temporary food permit for Techway Yourself at Barnstable High School, 744 West Main Street, Hyannis, map parcel 249-094, on May 27th, 6 to 11 p.m. The menu is plantain jerk, chicken, pork, fried chicken, rolls, pudding, fried dough as festival food, snacks, i.e. packaged crackers, chips, bottled juices, and waters. Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Alana
Thank you for
Boda.
your patience.
Sure. My name is Alana Boda. I'm the event organizer for Tech For Yourself show. It will be at Barnstable High School. So we're looking to do the food, but the food will be prepared at the Caribbean Lounge. For the cafeteria, it's the senior cafeteria area at the main lobby. That's where the food will be. It will be held with Sterno and Schaefer's and all that. And the food won't be held from 6 till 11. It's actually 6 till about 9:30. So the food will be served a little before, like people who are coming early to get their seats. From 6, the show starts 7 till 9. We might, if it's not sold off, hope we do before 9:30. But we'll be there by until 9:30 after the show at 9. So it's about 3.5 hours hold. Also, the food will be transported in heated containers, portable heated containers, and that's it. The hand wash sink is right behind the area where the food will be displayed. And no, the patrons won't be coming close to the food. It will be a counter area, and they'll be on the other side. And
Great.
the staff from the restaurant will be serving with gloves, tongs, and all that.
Great, thank you for that. This is a public hearing. If there are any members of the public that would like to speak on this item, seeing none, close the public hearing. Staff?
No objections.
Staff has no objections. Any questions or comments from the board?
Move to approve.
Good.
I have a motion to approve.
Second?
I have Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. Thank you so much. Good luck. Have a great night.
Thank you so much. How do I get my sign off for the school?
The,
Ms. Crocker?
Online. You go
Oh.
online, you apply for a permit, then you get the permit online.
I did that already, but
Yes.
there is a form for the school that should be signed by the department, just to show them that everything is signed off.
Oh, I
Is
see.
it for the health department or is it for the school department? Do you remember?
It's from Katri Mulaney. All the departments already signed. I'm just waiting on the health department to do their
Okay.
part.
For the health department? Yeah,
Will
so
there
when I,
some-
when I get in tomorrow, I'll let Diana know. and
Yeah.
she'll
What time?
Process that. Oh, you got to give me a little time there.
All right, have
Say
a
by
great night,
10.
guys. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you again for your patience. Next item on the agenda, this is body art, new establishment and artists. Under A, new body establishment, Rosa Angelina Martins, owner of new establishment Brazilian Touch, 209 Main Street, Hyannis, map parcel 327-151, for permanent makeup. And then item B, we'll take that up too, is new body artist Corinne Montero, body artist at Brazilian Touch, 209 Main Street, Hyannis, map parcel 327-151. Request a variance from the provision which requires completion of an anatomy and physiology course. Completed school at LL Browse, Abington, Mass. For permanent makeup, 600 hours as apprenticed. Good afternoon.
Afternoon. She's the owner. I'm the artist.
Okay. Give the rationale. Just kind of tell us a little bit.
I do fine line tattooing. I actually brought some of the things that I do. I've been doing it for about 2 years, but, oh. You guys can hear me. I'm pretty loud anyways.
There you go. Speak into the mic. Thank
I've been
you.
doing it for a while, but the board said that we had to get our license for it. We come from Brazil, so I went to this AAM certified school that I needed to go to and have all my certifications done for here, and that's what I've been doing for the past 2 years to get it done. And then she owns a salon that I work at, so for me to be legal to work there, she needs to get the establishment, and I have to get mine.
Okay, thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Are there any members of the public who'd like to speak? Seeing no one, close the public hearing. Staff?
Staff does not support a variance from anatomy and physiology, as the Board of Health adopted the one-day course may take its place, so we require everyone to do the same thing. We require the one-day course if you don't take the anatomy and physiology.
I did do the anatomy and physiology, but I did it in a course of like more than 100 hours of it.
Do you have the certification forms?
Yes, I brought it into the
Did she
town.
submit those, Sarah?
Yes.
Sharon?
Huh?
Did she submit the certification?
She,
I don't see it
I
here.
can't hear, I'm sorry.
Anatomy and physiology class?
It wasn't from a New England accredited college. that
Oh.
the
Yes. It's not from
board
the New England
requires, but
accredited college or from the one-day class that the board put into their regulation. It was in Brazil, is that?
No, I am with, it's a certified school in New England that I did it with, and that's what was required of me. It's an AAM school, I guess it's called.
This is anatomy and physiology?
Correct.
Do you have a copy of that?
I gave it to Sharon. Oh, you don't have a copy of it?
I'm looking at your Browse Academy.
Yeah. You want me to go over? Okay. I did this school in Brazil, but I had to do it here. Is this a copy of it?
Yeah, that's all the attachments. Oh, no, that's the, no, I,
Oh, it's in here, the fundamental course. It's included in the fundamental course. And she said that whatever AAM that's what they said I had to go under. And then it's in here, anatomy.
How many hours of anatomy, I'm sorry,
I had 100 hours.
100 hours of anatomy and
I had
physiology?
100 hours of the foundational course for body artists and all that included.
See, the board has a regulation of at least 6 hours with an exam in anatomy and physiology. That's what I'm checking for. Do you have?
The other two that I did under that too, these two.
yes, you did all the paperwork. Skin anatomy, Browse anatomy. You should have this all as your
Okay.
backup. It is,
How many hours of skin anatomy and, so just anatomy physiology, not the rest?
I did about 48 hours.
And with an exam as well?
Correct.
I know she had tried to do the skin course, and they have informed her now that they're not doing online. They had been doing online up until now.
So you just
So
have to
that
go.
wasn't an option. She was willing to do that again,
Right,
but.
I just have to travel
wasn't
to
allowed.
the place of the class,
Correct,
Western
but
Massachusetts.
They only had one available 2 months from now. They were
Oh,
having a
okay.
glitch in their system. So I did do 2 other ones that I brought certifications for. Just online little things that I did, but that wasn't the correct one. But I tried.
I don't have a copy in my set.
Can I give that to John?
I have 4 of the Kings, Old Kings, 12 Old Kings Highway, Old Kings Road there, 12 of those, 4 of those.
That's interesting.
Oh, yeah, you don't have any, yeah, you don't have copies of these, that's right.
I just want
No,
the-
none of them do.
I just want the doctors to look at it, see if they're comfortable with it.
We'll take your word for it.
I'm not really sure, but the course that I took, I had to pay $7,000 for it to do it's A8M certified. It's a tattoo body artist for Massachusetts. And it's what she put I gave her the original copy, or no, I have the original, maybe. Oh, and they said that's what I needed to do to comply.
Looks good.
Yeah,
I mean, we have 3 medical doctors on
Oh,
this
okay.
board, so I'm going to defer to them if they're
Okay.
comfortable with the certification, because, when you get into topical.
Oh, it's complicated for
and
me
blood
too.
and
I had
everything
to
else.
spend a lot of money to get here.
We.
How many years have you been?
About 2 years, and I do fine line tattooing. I have some of it here too. I just finished another course this weekend. I was in Maryland for it.
Okay.
So I keep going. I just enjoy it.
Did you say you had samples of what you had?
I do. I have samples too of what I do if you guys want to look at it
Yes,
in my books.
I'm inclined to. Yeah, I think I think their anatomy,
These are just,
the anatomy's in the course, yeah.
No, we're saying we're inclined to
okay.
go with it.
We're saying it seems like you've had plenty of anatomy.
Oh, yeah, I've tried.
Okay. So with the, the doctor's input and if they're comfortable with it, and I'm comfortable with it. So the two items before us is the second item would be the, why don't we take a vote on the waiving of the requirement, because the certification that she did provide, I think, and the doctors agree meets it close enough. So item B, new body artist, I would entertain a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor?
Aye.
That's approved. So the new body establishment, Rosalina Martin's owner, this would be a new establishment. Staff, do you have any objections?
No objections, subject to an inspection.
Right, of course. You understand that, the inspection, yep. So I would entertain a motion to establish.
Second?
All those in favor of allowing this new body establishment?
Aye.
Aye. Paul?
Aye.
Thank you. That's unanimous.
And Rose, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce her name.
Rosangela.
Rosangela, her paperwork didn't get in in time, so she'll be here next month to do her body art.
Okay, so the establishment's
Famous
set,
establishment.
but the body artist stuff will come before us later. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Really appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good luck going forward.
Thanks.
Go in and get a tattoo.
It's not too late.
Did everyone have a chance to review the minutes from February 28th and April 25th?
Yep.
I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Can I make a change? On the April minutes, under number 7, food variance, I recused myself from both of those hearings, and I didn't vote on either one. Because it's the same owner of both places.
Both A and B?
Isn't that the Craigville one?
Craigville Pizza. No, not Craigville Pizza.
I mean,
The Barnacle and
Yeah, but they-
whatever the other new
So they-
name is.
They were being bought by by 2 different new owners. Did you realize
No,
that?
that's not correct. That's a mistake. It's the same owner. He owns the buildings.
2 new managers.
But the people that are running it are renting from him.
Oh, I see. So you were saying, oh, I see. Okay, I thought you were only dismissing yourself from
Yeah,
that first
I
one.
didn't.
Thank you for correcting that. Okay, let me just write that from both.
So I would entertain a motion to approve with the corrected April 25th, that Dr. Caniff had recused himself on both items.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. So we're still just updating the deadline to connect to building, public and sewer. We're still working on creating some regulations on that and some advisories.
Who's working on that?
Tom Lee and
The
Griffin.
DPW?
Yeah, Griffin and
And how about the
Dan
second
Santos.
one?
The temporary holding tanks, Tom,
Tom Lee was working on that. Yeah.
getting
What do
D,
you call the difference between a tight tank and a temporary holding tank?
Not
It'd be
much.
the same thing,
One's
right?
permanent. the
yeah,
other's
one's
temporary.
permanent if the local Board of Health
Right.
issues it. What we're trying to convince DEP is understanding the scenario and the situation of having sewer coming
Yeah.
and bridging so that,
Right.
people can save some money, but yet we're going to condition it,
But it'd be the same tank.
but it would be removed and it wouldn't be permanent. It would be
Right.
temporary. Once sewer is available, the tight tank comes out. They can't say, oh, I got a tight tank, I don't have to hook up to sewer, because we're going to condition every single temporary tank that as soon as sewer is available, they have to hook up within 6 months, period.
And then, Tom, I talked before about getting a schedule of the pumping of these tight tanks.
Yes, you did. Yes.
Can you, are they,
I have Mr.
somebody working on it?
Mr. Stanton's been working on it, yes.
All right.
And the first policy has already been drafted up.
Right.
I drafted you could adopt it any meeting you'd like to,
Okay.
if you're one of you are ready.
Why don't you circulate it to the board members, and we'll take it up on our June meeting? Okay?
Right.
The other item was, someone had mentioned to me, and I just take a look at it, that Barnstable has significantly higher criteria and regulations for mobile food trucks than other towns. Does that
No.
make any sense?
The only, we follow all the state regulations. The Board of Health adopted one additional thing, that the window be self-closing, either the screen or the window, to keep the flies out. And we've seen a lot of innovative ways of doing that, but from bungee cords to a rock on a string that what pulleys, all kinds of ways, but they've managed to get, actually, the last couple have been by gravity. They make it fall down by gravity. But other than that, no, I can't think of any other
Okay,
items. that
just
are
someone had
strict.
mentioned to me that, this, I guess, the snack bars at the rink have closed, and someone had mentioned food trucks maybe being available for events, and they said, oh, Barnstable's, got difficulty, we don't do a lot of food vehicles in Barnstable, and I was just wondering.
We've encouraged trailers as well. It used to have to be a self-propelled unit. Now trailers can be pulled in.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
We'll be happy to help. Anybody who wants to call me and ask for help, I'll be happy to help them.
I'll
with
steer 'em your
getting
way.
a permit.
Okay.
Yes.
Other than that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Can I ask one more question? What's the story with that kitchen at CAM? People come in there and food trucks, they prepare food there's
There's a number of different permittees, operators. They all get their separate licenses to operate out of that kitchen.
No,
yes.
but I mean the CAM appliance store.
Yes, yep, that's the place.
Is that inspected and everything?
Oh, yes.
It is.
Inspector Damaris has been there many times, right across from.
What do they do? They prepare food there, then put it in their truck and go and sell it somewhere else?
That may be one of, it's a place where entrepreneurs can try their specialty dish or whatever and get a permit and cook and sell out. Yeah, it's a place for anyone to try. I don't know the whole, but it's used by multiple
All I
people.
understand is that people go in there and they have a food truck. They cook their food in there and then they transfer it to the truck and go wherever they.
Yeah, that's another, yeah. I can get you more information for the next meeting, but I don't have all the details.
Oh, that's interesting.
Can I say something? Do you recall when we had the church down on Main Street where they had the kitchen, that people would come in and be able to use a kitchen if they didn't have their own commercial kitchen? That's how this is set up, yeah. So different people can come in and they each individually get permits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All righty.
Okay.
And entertain a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, doctors, ladies, gentlemen.
You better than ever.